Meyer backpedaling, running out of time, spinning away, and nobody open. Now he flips it up into traffic and makes a mistake. Trying to force the play, and it's intercepted. B.J. Mays rumbling down inside the 10.
This is 365 Sports.
Bowling Green with no timeouts. Nick Singleton. Touchdown, Penn State.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Klubnik, undaunted, unafraid, complete, Turner, touchdown!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Why not?
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hickner off to the races. Hickner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75. It's a Pony Express.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon on this Friday. 365 Sports in studio, not far, just down the road, of course, from what Craig describes on I-35 in Waco as an absolute cluster. They're doing some construction on the mid to south part of town. They've done that over the years, and Craig has to get up at 4 a.m. to be able to make it here to the show at 3.
Well, it's a trip that normally takes 10 to 15 minutes to 35 minutes. So that's a little bit different when you're commuting on a daily basis. And it's not anywhere. I know somebody in Dallas is like 35 minutes is nothing. Okay, yeah, you're used to it. I'm just saying around here. So, yeah, if you're coming up from up south and you're going to have to drive through here, or you're coming up from up north and having to get to Austin or wherever,
Good
this
luck.
is like a lifeline to all that Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, everywhere. Get ready to sit in your car for a while because it is a cluster. And I said a word after that, but I'm not going to say it on this show right now.
Part of the benefit to living in Waco is that we don't really have traffic. Like that's the thing. Like it's one of the, when people say what's the best part about living in Waco, I will tell you in the top 5, I'm like, we really don't have traffic like all that often. I've never left even a Baylor game and been in traffic for more than like 10 minutes, and that's when everybody's kind of condensed in the same area. We have very good traffic flow here, except when there's construction. And then it's like going to a restaurant to get your favorite dish. And they're like, oh, we took it off the menu. And you're like, no, whoa. The only reason I come to here is because the triple dipper dinner. You can't take it away. Otherwise, I'm not like, now I've decided not to come back.
Well, it's crazy if you are headed south from Waco or anywhere north of Waco into Austin or San Antonio. Yeah, it's kind of jumbled up. All right. So today we got to hit this at 3:25. Paul and I were able to do an interview with College Football Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner, Bowling Green football coach Eddie George. That will be today at 3:25. But we also have guests from the Mountain West Conference and kind of what's going on with them. Also, Andrew Monaco, voice of Texas A&M, and today Anthony Morales, the Athletic, with that story, that combo story with Sam Kahn on the quarterback ratings, the tiers in college football this upcoming season. So, Big 12 Media Days last week. There are other Media Days going on. There are other conferences, but this is what the media predicted for the SEC. They did allow the media to have a preseason poll.
Well, it benefits them.
How?
I mean, because their propaganda is 20 years deep.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
then they're like, oh, this is how.
Yeah, I was looking at the bottom. I always look at the last 6 or 8 teams. Oklahoma, think about that, 10th. But here we are, Texas, with, a over double what Georgia got. Alabama, LSU, South Carolina getting that bump with the year they had last year, their quarterback and others back, A&M after Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. And then the last 6, Auburn, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. So imagine if you're Vanderbilt and you go 7-6 and you have Pavia and you end up 13th out of 16 in the SEC. You get to 7-6.
Look, I think they're up three spots of where they normally are.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a whimper, I guess, and on their way up. And they've got to prove it year after year. Vanderbilt's a team that historically they have a good year and then they go back to being Vanderbilt.
Yep, they do.
So you can't, I see that they got a couple of first place votes. So good for them. But, it's you got to have it, more than 1 year in a row.
Yeah, I think the Vandy first place vote thing is partially a bit. Like that's been kind of an ongoing bit for a while. And if it's not a bit, then it's just the most homery thing ever. I mean, it really is. And it's just doing something to do something, which is fine. It's not the most serious exercise in the world. But yeah, I think thinking that they're going to win the conference is ridiculous. I don't care how improved they are. Like they could be very good. They could damn well play for the conference title. I'm not going to go that far myself, but you know what? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But winning the SEC, I say absolutely no shot whatsoever. But I don't want to feel like I'm picking on Vandy, though, either. I just think that first place votes-wise, I think that has to be a bit. But Auburn with a first place vote, I mean, that's to me got to be some kind of a homer pick. I mean, I don't see otherwise what your argument is for that. And then it's just kind of scattered. And I do think there's a lot of homery kind of probably picks going on here, but there is a handful of teams that you can legitimately say, like, no, they deserve votes. I mean, the top 4 there, South Carolina, I can understand. I think beyond that, some of those are what I was referring to, but I can see where somebody, and I know this is probably going to sound homery coming from me, But like I can see where you look at Oklahoma and go, well, with what they did, I could see why they would be in that place. But I wouldn't give them a first place vote by any stretch. They are very, very interesting, though. A&M not getting a first-place vote, I actually think that they're more deserving than half the teams that got a first-place vote, and I would pick them to finish higher than a handful of these schools that have first-place votes. So, Texas at the top, and I was one of probably millions that thought that they were in a much better position than Oklahoma was rolling into the SEC, but certainly thought there would be at least some type of trial and error and some type of tribulations, and they really didn't experience that whatsoever. And so now here they are in year 2, and not only did they not even experience that because they made it all the way to the championship game and they just had to play Georgia twice, but here they are and they're overwhelmingly the first place team in the SEC poll. So so much for that transition period that's going to cause them trouble. They've just zipped on by that. Meanwhile, Oklahoma is mired in it for the time being until we see what they do this season.
I don't have last year's poll. I could look it up easily. I would think that last year, either Georgia or Alabama were the top 2 vote getters. Texas was probably in that top 3 or 4.
Georgia, Texas, Alabama.
There we go.
Ole Miss, LSU.
Yep. So there we are. South Carolina with a nice bump, though, with the momentum again from the end of last year, also with Sellers, the quarterback, back. This would be an easier one for me if I did 1 through 16.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's kind of like we have a segment today about the quarterback tiers or what. This to me, there's like 4 fall in place here, 4 fall in place here, maybe 1 or 2 changes, but this one would be a much easier one to do.
I think the bottom is much easier to do and the top is much easier to do. I think in the middle, it'd be hard to get it exact, but I don't think you'd have like the extreme of they're 15 spots off the mark. I think everybody in the middle would be like a handful at most off the mark.
Yeah, like would I'll just say between Florida and Oklahoma, like 6 to 10 there, and maybe even Auburn, Mizzou, but like 6 to 12, I think you might be splitting hairs, and it's probably going to come down to the teams that play each other, who wins those games, whether they finish 7th or 9th, And
well, here's another reason for that is that if you look at the odds of wins over under, there's 3 or 4 teams in the SEC, even with the competition, that are expected to win 9.5 or 10 games. And then at the bottom, those teams mostly are 3 or 4 wins. So there's a big gap compared to the 8.5 in the Big 12 compared to what, 5.5? Mm-hmm. And even one coach brought that up when they were visiting with us during Big 12 media days a couple of weeks ago or last week.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see a media poll from the Big 12 and just see what that looked like and almost make it a joke at this point. I mean, I guess it is because everybody's cracked on it so much from last year. But, I mean, I would have been curious to see, although I don't think we missed out on anything because I feel like everybody was going to do the same thing everybody else does. It's like, oh, were they good last year? They bring most back? Okay, we're going to put them near the top. And that's not how it really worked last year in that league. So, I think it would have been fun to see how off the mark we are once again, but didn't get that opportunity. Whereas this, I think I said this when we talked about the lack of a Big 12 poll. And by the way, the Big 10 doesn't do a poll to my knowledge either. So that's just not mentioned in this at all, but they don't do one.
And they haven't for a very long time.
They haven't for a really long time, but you wouldn't know it, right? Because it's never brought up. But
they're like Fight Club. The first rule of the Big Ten is don't talk about the Big Ten, and the second rule,
it does almost feel like they don't talk like intentionally about really anything, and almost to like preserve it's like the Wizard of Oz thing, like they never get from behind, they never let you see behind the curtain because then all the magic would not look nearly as cool, I guess. But yeah, they kind of keep it tight to the vest there. Whereas, yeah, I think with this, the difference is, you have at minimum a handful of teams that are at the top.
Yep.
And they're all right there. Like, nobody's voting. And like you might have South Carolina at 3 or something, but you have those top 4 somewhere in your top 4 to 5. Mm-hmm. And then the bottom 4, I think the bottom 3, because Vandy probably varies a bit. I think those 3 are probably the bottom 3 to bottom 4 on like nearly every single poll. Mm-hmm. So like that. So again, I think the middle's where you're going to have the differentiations of maybe a couple games here and there, but the top and the bottom are pretty clear cut. And we can revisit this and maybe Kentucky surprises or something, but I think that everybody expects more like we're going to be talking about a new coach there sooner rather than later. So,
by the way, in the chat room, why aren't you guys talking about the ACC Media Days? That's next week. They're the 22nd through the 24th, I believe, will be the ACC Media Days. That's why we have not brought them up. And
Clemson had their own this week, so I think that's
really
a little confusing.
But,
yeah, they did their own.
Wow.
I mean, some schools do that,
but
like,
they'll still be at
they'll
the
still
ACC,
be there,
yeah.
but like they do their own thing. So that Dabo can kind of control the message a little bit more, and be Dabo, because who knows who he's going to walk up and talk to that asks him a question that,
like that kid that called in the show,
that he decides to get like, oh, well, let me tell you how it really is. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit of controlling the message. Is also a little bit of a gift to the local media to give them that access. So I appreciate that, because a lot of coaches, some of them go to regular media days, don't even talk to their local media, or don't give them the time that they probably deserve being on the beat all the time. So yeah, we'll get to the ACC when it's their turn, but it's not their turn until next week.
All right, so we tried to get Terry Mohajir on, AD at UCF last week, but we really ended up with all the head coaches except we had 13 of the 16, and John Cunningham, the AD at Cincinnati. The ADs weren't as available because they didn't have any meetings during Big 12 Media Days, but Terry Mohajir was there. We always have liked talking to him. So they are not struggling, but they're having and have had to change how they view how they're going to handle revenue sharing. I think they were hoping for some of that money that's going to revenue sharing towards other upgrades that they were going to do on campus and with some of the sports, and not just football. But now it appears as if this is going to affect them quite a bit. So they have the money raised, the 20.5, but it's been a challenge.
But they were going to pump a lot more into their Olympic sports that they got from the Big 12. So now they got to take – so that 20.5 that they have to contribute to the players now goes away from facilities and Olympic sports upgrades and all that stuff. So not that it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen on the same timeline that they had it. But, and the thing is, you can't really – I'm sure they were planning for house settlement as soon as it came – like you knew that there was going to be something, but you don't know how long lawsuits are going to last. Like once that was filed, in I don't know what year it was, but it's fairly recent, the House case. So they have that. They have to wait for it to be done. It gets settled this year, and then all of a sudden everybody's plans change. And so some of those things you got to hit pause on, which sucks for especially the Olympic sports. And that's one of the reasons Cody Campbell is out there trying to figure things out so that we don't lose those, because all of a sudden you have $20 million in your budget that now has to go to the players, and you have to allot it to the money-making sports before you even get into not even paying the Olympic athletes and sharing whatever revenue share you get from media rights and whatnot for track, which is not that much. But now you have to think like, oh, well, we were going to upgrade the locker room or the track or these facilities. Well, that's on hold.
One of the other things they had to deal with was that when they entered the Big 12, they got a half a share, as did the other schools. UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU were the four corner schools who came in from the Pac-12 because of the competition that some of them might end up in the Big 10 or whatever. They got full shares, and he was talking about how they're not playing catch up because they still got more than what they had at the American Conference, but that also is coming to play. But they do start, all of them, having full shares starting this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, they get their full share starting this year, as you mentioned, so that'll help a great deal. It's not for a lack of fundraising. They just set a new all-time record. They had over $50 million that they had fundraised here recently that was announced. So that was a new height for them. So that's not like it's a problem that you're not getting your people to pay up. It's just that you were throwing a curveball that you didn't possibly see coming, or at least coming this quickly into the focus of everybody. So yeah, you were having to pivot a little bit and redirect some of that money to some places that you were otherwise planning on spending it, like facilities. So yeah, it's just one of the, I guess, ground level problems that we don't really think about too much probably as just fans when we're looking at just recruits and wins and losses and things. But when you do start to get in the weeds on some of this stuff, you're suddenly having to pay at least 20 something million if you're going to go up to the full cap. Some won't, obviously, but for the most part, everybody seems to have indicated they're going to pay as much as they can. So if you just say it's around that 20 million figure, well, that's 20 million that was otherwise going somewhere else that was earmarked for something else. So yeah, that's problematic and something you're going to have to navigate. But I think they've got a huge fan base. They're growing, and they're still excited about the possibilities. And it's just a part of the deal that everybody's having to maneuver around. And so I'm sure they'll find their way around it. But yeah, that's disappointing that you can't just go gung ho like you want to full bore on what all you had planned originally.
All right, KU. Remember they redid their stadium. This is their end zone. What is that, Paul? Craig?
It looks like it. Is that
It's
like
waving wheat?
Yeah.
It's waving wheat. Yep,
Yeah.
It's waving wheat. That's in the end zone. They showed that up. They showed them rolling it out. And that's a lot. That's got a little almost like kaleidoscope to me in it. It's a lot, but that's their end zone. They showed that off today on their Twitter feed. They showed the video of them rolling it out. So there's KU as they're closing in, of course, on the season and the opening of their brand new, not brand new, but renovated stadium.
And congrats to our good friend Lance Leipold on having an office again.
Yeah, that's right.
Or like
yeah,
a place to work.
Yeah, I think we can safely say he's a friend of the show at this point. I mean,
agree.
he's offering up his phone number to us and everything. I think you could say that he's a buddy. But yeah, they are very excited about these upgrades, and who wouldn't be after playing away last year, all of your home games at Arrowhead and whatnot, just a pain in the butt, even if it's not a terribly long trip. It's still a trip that otherwise you wouldn't have to take, and you won't have to take it all this year. So for your home games. So yeah, I think there's reason for a lot of excitement. It looks great, just the whole facility. I did see a lot of back and forth when they published this last night, actually, of differing opinions on the end zone itself, like the waving wheat. I don't mind it. I think maybe it could use some word mark to kind of say Kansas somewhere. But I don't know. I've just seen this clip like probably most other people.
I think
K-State fans thought that that's their deal, waving wheat. I don't know the difference.
No, I mean,
they hate each other.
Wave the weed is what you like. That's their thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Let's see what
Varsy's,
Bracket Cat's saying in the
Varsy's
chat.
horns off.
Yeah, clarify for us, Bracket Cat.
Yeah, but yeah, wave the wheat.
Wave the wheat's a KU thing.
Yeah, it's a KU thing. Yeah, so that's their deal. But I think they made this end zone for them and not for anybody else. So if you turn it on, you're wondering what it is, and you're not a Kansas fan, you'll be confused. But they don't care because it's for the fans and not for anybody who's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, I might have just come across just some K-State fan who's trying to hate for no reason. I actually thinks it's pretty cool. I don't know, but I just saw differing opinions on it. I think it looks cool, fine. I think it'll be easier to have an opinion when you see like the full project completed and they're out there playing a game. But I think it's a nice tribute, something different, and I didn't understand some of the minor uproar I saw, but again, that could have just been people trolling for all I know.
This is from Retired Stockbroker. I just had it, man. My eyes don't work quite. He was talking about how it's called maize. It's what the Indians call it. That's what they call corn. Also, of course, I knew that. The old Barn Cat Go K-State, they don't even like KU farmers. Bunch of hypocrites from the real Kansas School, K-State.
What did we walk into?
Where we serve the wheat growers of Kansas.
K-State is the ag school.
Yes.
That's for sure. So K-State is the ag school. And so for people that aren't familiar, this would be like Texas talking about how much they've done for cotton, while A&M is essentially right in the middle of a bunch of cotton fields where they are. They are. I mean,
no. I knew Bracket Cat was going to come in.
Yeah. So that's it. Like, go down to Bryan College Station. Like once you get out of the city, you're in like it's cattle and cotton. That's all that's out there.
We're down near Brenham in that area. No, Brenham's a little bit more.
Like, no, in the Brazos Bottom, like we're talking Hearn and where's Mumford and those places that you get out there, and it is cotton. And crop dusters, one of which my dad let me go up with when I was 8 years old in a plane.
That's cool.
Oh, it was great. It was terrifying. It was great. Those guys are crazy as hell. If you want an experience, fly with a crop duster. Those guys are nuts. But yeah, so it's the ag school and the non-ag school always have that little beef with each other.
The Bracket Cat, or not, more like wave the Adidas dollar bills at basketball recruits.
Oh, wait. Hold on, Bracket Cat. Jerome Tang is happily spending money.
Yeah.
Happily spending money.
Well, but it's legal.
Don't go to Paul anymore for your sympathetic K-State takes, Bracket Cat.
Yeah. No,
he's joined the enemy, so just be aware.
Look, one of the largest fights I've ever had with my wife was supporting my friend Jerome Tang.
No, yeah.
It was bad. It was.
I'm
it
going
was
to wear
like one
my
of those
Tang
things.
Time T-shirt one day.
Yeah, and no, when he beat Kansas in Kansas, first rattle out of the box, I was like, I know you're upset, but I'm really proud of my friend who I've known for almost 20 years. And she's like, well, you're not married to Jerome Tang. Oh, yeah.
No.
Well, she has a point there. I don't know if that was the best timing on your part to bring up why she should be. Yeah.
I didn't realize that she got that upset at that point as early on about regular season games.
Well, either way, the Kansas end zone, I think it looks pretty cool from what I have seen, and I can see where that, like everything else, devolves into throwing trash at each other. So not surprised to see that last night, but I can't wait to see it in full and see Kansas be able to just play a home game, and I'm sure Jayhawks fans are super excited.
Last part of what we do, some of what we had in the headlines, Garrett, we can move on to another segment. We need to hit that Eddie George interview pretty quickly. But before we do, so Andy Staples had his quarterback rankings in the Big 12. And here there are, he had 10, not 16, but he's the top 10. Now, top 10 Big 12 logo in the left corner, quarterback rankings. Big 12. These are all Big 12 quarterbacks. Here is somebody that doesn't pay attention because people on social media are immediately just angry about life. What aren't all 10 of these guys in the Big 12? Look at the number of question marks. You're telling me the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation, capitalized, are all playing the worst power conference? Lots of question marks. What a joke. Carson Beck runs circles around these clowns, and I'm not so sure that's true. Who's the Big 12 homer who wrote this BS? Lots of question marks.
Look at his name.
Well, I didn't see it.
Miami Canes.
Yeah.
So
again, read.
Okay, you got to stop trying to police social media. People are not going to read on social media.
This was funny.
It's funny, but I'm just saying that nobody's listening to you saying, "Hey, you need to read it."
Andy's response was funny.
Yeah, he goes, "Yeah, I'm the Big 12." Yeah, there you go.
But I will tell you this, and this is from a person who, I'm not trying to rag on a rival, but Miami is the big T-shirt fan base in Florida, akin to Texas, because it's a small school in a very large city of people who like it. So I would guess that guy has not attended a class at the University of Miami. Because if he had, they would have taught him how to read.
I would think that's possibly the case. I've come across quite a few interesting Miami fans that I'm not entirely sure. Went there. I don't hold that against people. I think there's a lot of incredible quote unquote T-shirt fans out there. But yeah, I think Miami online, it's easy to judge them with a pretty broad brush because they've got a lot of people that are very vocal, like this guy. But yeah, I mean,
you're telling me,
I get what you're saying, but like, no. you're not going to police social media. Like, you're not going to be, hey, just read. And
I know.
Yeah, I mean, people
but
don't read.
I just thought that the reaction. Super chat. Trip Baldwin, thank you. Lubbock and the South Plains region surrounding Lubbock is the largest contiguous cotton growing area in the world. There's another one. From retired stockbroker, this is going to be FFA crop chat today.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you very much for that.
We're in the right place then. I think we got the Big 12 crowds, got a lot of those folks that are going to be
absolutely
ramped up. I didn't know that about Lubbock, actually. That's interesting. So thanks for passing that along. But I didn't know that about the contiguous cotton crops and all that.
Oh my God, no, I didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, from the big Lubbock, and then we break in Eddie George. Texas Tech, through seed genetics, has developed colored cotton. Tech agriculture, lab farms have fields of colored cotton, grow it a certain color instead of dyeing the cotton, thus won't fade.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that either.
I knew we had a huge contingent of Tech fans and viewers. We appreciate that. I learned a lot today here in this opening segment. Eddie George won a Heisman in 1995 at Ohio State. Coach at Bowling Green. Played with Houston and Tennessee, Oilers, Texans, and 1 year with Bill Parcells and the Cowboys. Paul and I had a chance to visit with him earlier today. I hope you enjoy this. As soon as the break is over, he's next. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. What does all that mean? As you get older, 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It could be as simple as you just don't feel right. There's something missing, and you maybe have a nice diet, or you do exercise, or you should be okay, but something's missing. You're lethargic. You're just kind of, ugh. It could be your testosterone level has dropped. The sex drive changes, or maybe there's nothing there at all, literally. And so that could be a symptom. Even sleep habits and much, much more. Your focus. Dr. Petty, contact them, pettycliniclowt.com. Tell them I sent you. They will set you up to get your blood work. Dr. Petty and his staff will get the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program to increase it so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco during the Make This the Summer event. Check out the all-new Jeeps that are arriving daily. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990. Or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling, and ramp up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by, let's be friends.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Head football coach at Bowling Green, a Hall of Famer, college football, and also Pro Football Hall of Famer Eddie George with us. Paul Catalina, David Smoak. And, man, it's great to see your face. What a story, Eddie, as you are getting into this coaching profession. Was it ever in your blood early on, or was it just something that after your career ended, you wanted to stay involved in football?
Well, my career ended. prior to getting into coaching 17 years ago. So I didn't see myself as a coach. It took for someone to see something in me that I didn't see in myself, and she being the president of Tennessee State at the time, Dr. Glenda Glover, was very persistent in me wanting to be her head coach at Tennessee State. And at that particular time, I hadn't coached at any level. Now, I played the game at a high level. I've called games with Westwood One. I've been at Fox Studios as an analyst. I've done it all. Been recruited. My sons were recruited. So I've seen it and done it all from that perspective. But the day-to-day operation of running a program was something that I wasn't interested in. Didn't foresee myself in that position. Have tremendous respect for various coaches that have done it prior. They've been in it for a very long time. They hadn't had the opportunity. But it was something that I kicked the tires on because, one, Tennessee State is a Division I program or the 1AA or the FCS program. And they were looking for someone to come in and change the trajectory of their program. And how often do you get that opportunity to go from, I guess, the street to being named the head coach is because somebody sees something in you that you didn't see in yourself? So I asked myself that question of, okay, if I did do this, how would I start my program? And when I did that, it opened up Pandora's box of ideas and the programs, the identity, the culture, the philosophy that I would instill on a day-to-day basis. And it reinvigorated a spirit in me that was dormant for so long from my playing days, that I could still have an impact and input and be around the game that I loved since I came out my mother's womb in a deeper capacity as a coach. So it was something, I guess, that was always there that I didn't realize it until it was ready to be flourished and nurtured.
Eddie, a lot of elite players can't transition to coaching. And you were elite. You won the Heisman Trophy. You were one of the best running backs in the league. You had all this. And I've always thought of it as sometimes, like Michael Jordan could never be a coach because I don't think he has an inquisitive mind. It kind of, people like, how do I shoot your jump shot? And he's like, well, I just do it, and then I work really hard at it. But you've always been a guy who, to me, through your analyst work, I mean, you wrote a book about yoga, for crying out loud, like all these different things, have more of an inquisitive mind. Did that make it easier on the transition to coaching for you because you are someone who asks a lot of questions about things?
I am curious, and I think that's it's key to life. I think that's very important to always ask questions, to be curious. But I'm committed. It has nothing to do with inquisitive mind, or I at least I don't think so. I think it's a want to, and if you're committed to being the best that you could possibly be, whatever you're called to do at that particular moment, you want to do whatever it takes to get there. And I'm pretty sure for Mike, if he really chose that, hey, I want to be a full-time coach, he's going to figure out a way to get it done. Because we've seen he imposes his will, with the results of that. So it doesn't change. Who you are doesn't change. It has nothing to do with, hey, I'm so talented that nobody I can't relate. No, it has everything to do with going through the process, the grind, the willingness to learn, to grow, and to say, hey, be humble enough to say, I don't have all the questions. I got to surround myself with the right people. I got to constantly grow myself as a leader and ask myself the tough questions. How do I get better? I need to get constant feedback. I need to get nurtured and mentored in this thing too. So I've taken a lot of my life's lessons that I've learned as a player, both on and off the football field, things that I have observed over the years from various coaches that have coached me, things that I've done in my own life that I've led, that I've been able to lead myself, being a family man and so forth. And all of those things matter. And all of those things help you be the coach that you're capable of being. And again, I have the mindset, a growth mindset, and I'm always going to ask the questions of how can I do something better? or how can my team do something better? What did we do well? What can we improve in, and how do we get better? Those are the questions that I'm always asking of myself, of my staff, of my team.
Vincent, who set this up for us, the media relations, told me that your first collegiate touchdown at Ohio State was against Bowling Green.
Yeah, it was. 1 yard run.
how like full circle? That's a while back, as you mentioned, but how interesting is that? Because you scored a bunch, but your first one is now where you're coaching.
It's God. I mean, who else can write a script like that? I certainly can't. And it's amazing that back then I would have never thought, one, that I would have probably gone on to have the career that I had, and two, one day I would be a head coach at a prestigious university such as Bowling Green, in the MAC, and a team that I played. And again, I'll tell you what, they played us tough that day too. I mean, we walked out of there holding on for our dear lives for a victory. I mean, so this organization, this program is notorious for having tough-minded, hard-working, gritty players in a program, and I'm honored to be the head coach.
I've been to Bowling Green once, many years ago. They hosted women's first round college basketball when Baylor and Brittany Griner were playing in it. And when I think about, like, you land in Toledo, you get there, it's not big. Like, Bowling Green is, you can probably run across it pretty quick.
You blink your eye, you're right through downtown quickly. Yes.
But I did notice that they are passionate sports fans there. I mean, for a Brittany Griner game in a small gym, it was packed out and people were standing outside. That they were excited about that. When you do step into what's a smaller thing, how much do you look at, man, this town, these people, they care. Like, they really do enjoy being here and being around basketball, football, anything that they can do. I did notice that about that I was like there for 3 or 4 days. So they were passionate about it.
And you know what? That's what I noticed when I got here. When I landed here, my family got here, was the passion, the care. They're not obnoxious fans to the point where they're going to harass you for autographs, and they're very respectful of my space, very supportive, optimistic, excited that we're here. And you can, I guess, get this. I mean, I grew up in Ohio for 4 years. I'm down in Columbus, so it's throughout the state. They support their sports here. You go up to the Cleveland Guardian game, baseball, and it's packed. We went up there. My son and I went up there for the 4th of July, and typically this time of year, nobody goes to baseball until it's still postseason. So my point is, Ohioans, they really support their sports, period. But specifically for Bowling Green, that's the energy that I felt when I walked in here. Very supportive, passionate, and they just want to be successful. And I'm here to help try to take this program to the next level.
There's a history of coaches at Bowling Green. Don Nealon, Urban Meyer. Early in his career, Dino Babers also was there. How much does that matter that they've had that kind of lineage and have a history at Bowling Green? You mentioned earlier they fight, scratch, and claw. That doesn't mean they're not talented, but they will make sure when you're done with them, you played them.
Oh, no question. I mean, you mentioned it. Doit Perry, Gary Blackney, Urban Meyer, Greg Brandon, Dave Clawson, Dino Babers, and Scott. All of them have been successful, and there's a brand of football that you play here at Bowling Green, and it's tough, physical, fast, disciplined, and there's no quit. And you can go from every single coach and every single one of those teams, and the same thing is tried and true. And that's the brand of football that I believe in, that I coach, and I think it's a perfect situation, a perfect marriage. Now, the question is, I don't know how many ball games we're going to win, but I know the brand of ball that we're going to play with and the mindset that we're going to approach that field with every single day that we're out in that practice field, playing games or whatever that may be, competing in the weight room. We approach the day a certain way, and that's our way of life.
you step into a situation where you take over a team that has had some success. And look, I watched them last year put a charge into Penn State in that first half, to where I'm pretty sure that Coach Franklin at halftime was like, "Hey guys, like this is like these guys came to play. Like you can't not take them seriously." And I know that there's a revolving door of players in today's college football. It's not always the same. But do you feel like you have that base of guys who plays with confidence, who like, okay, we're going to play Penn State. We're going to play this team for the Big Ten. Let's go. It's a party, and we're going to make sure that we're showing out.
Well, the guys that are here, they got to understand we're coming in a situation where it's a brand new team, a blended staff, a 51 new transfers, and some of the guys from the old regime. So I'm still learning this team. I don't know what we are capable of doing, where our mindset is yet in terms of walking into those venues. Now, there is an expectation that the next step is to break through and to win those games. Okay, you talked about Penn State. That wasn't just at halftime. That was the last play of the game. That was a one-score game. The following week against Texas A&M at their venue, two of the toughest places to play in the country, to go down there and almost pull off a victory at Texas A&M. 2 years ago, Bowling Green goes down to Georgia Tech and really manhandled that team in their own stadium. So it's the mindset is there. I think the kids understand they can compete with anybody in the country. Now it's just a matter of being consistent and really doubling down on the discipline things that we need to hone in and focus in on. All the small things, keeping the locker room clean, respecting one another, making sure that we're all going to class, making sure that we operate with a high sense of urgency, no matter where we are, and respect no matter where we are. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is our brand of not just football, but our lifestyle that extends out into the community. All those things matter. My job here as the head coach is to develop the character of these young men, not bring in guys of high character, but to develop that character, to build it to a high level. So if I can focus on that part and focus on developing the culture, the scoreboard and the season and championships will definitely take care of itself.
Of the young men you recruit, and a lot of them, they know who you are. They know your history as a player and all you've done. How many of them are any of them starstruck? And do you have to make sure you're talking to them as a football coach or Eddie George, the Hall of Famer?
Well, I'll talk to them as Eddie George, the man. I have to earn their trust in that regard. I don't come in here with my Heisman Trophy and my awards.
Sure.
And all of it. I get that. They have to. I sit them down. We sit on my couch and we'll talk as men. They have to know my values, the wars that I've been through, my vulnerable side. That hey, I was not perfect. I was 18, 19 years old. I expect that you're going to make mistakes, but we have to communicate. We have to be able to talk about these things and work through these things so you can grow. My job is to create an environment where these kids can be developed. They can grow. They can heal. They can learn and fail forward through their mistakes. And there's grace, there's compassion within all of that. And there is discipline in that too. So it's important for them to see me as a man first and foremost. And then I don't get into the whole starstruck thing. They might be starstruck for about 5 minutes. And then it's like, okay, how can you help me get to my goal? And I have to understand what their needs are. So it's really about building a sound relationship once I get beyond all of that other stuff.
Oh, and a lot of them, they don't even remember that they know who you are, but sorry, Paul, but a lot of those guys are at the age where some of them weren't born when you were finishing up your career.
No, they weren't. My youngest son wasn't born. He never saw me play down in football. He plays for me. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It's probably mom and dad. That's more like, oh man, that's Eddie George.
Yeah.
It's about mom and dad more so. How much how much more, like, it's a grind coaching. And I know there are days where you're probably lock yourself in your office and go, I could have just told her no and not done this and had to go through all this stuff.
Yes.
But it does feel that you're having fun doing it. How fun of a job is it when you can really hit that rhythm of being a coach and not so much of a CEO, which is certainly part of your job in modern college
No
football.
question. The CEO part is the majority, 90% of what I do. It's fundraising. I've gone to various cities to talk about our program, to engage our alumni, a very strong alumni base throughout the country, whether it's Philadelphia, Naples, Atlanta, Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus. It's very strong. And then there's the element of the NIL and developing relationships with other businesses and teaching our kids about financial literacy. I think that's so important because this is a institution of higher education, and it's a wonderful opportunity to tell them about taxes and LLCs and to do with your money. So all that is there. So, but it's a joy when I can get into the X's and O's and really delve into the identity of our football team. And that's being fast, physical, disciplined, tough in the trenches, a team that can establish the run game and stop the run. That part I love. Where I can go out there for 2.5 hours and really hone in on the fundamentals of football, of how we want to run duo or how we want to fit certain run plays, or working with our special forces and in terms of the fundamentals of leverage and hand placement and all the details, the nuances and techniques that we have to master in order to be really a really good football team. That's what I enjoy. So it's the blend of it all. And it's being the CEO, it's being the coach, it's being a teacher of life, it's building relationships, it's being a mentor, it's being a father figure. So all those things, I have various roles that I play, and I try to pay attention and have discernment in terms of which hat I need to wear on any specific day.
A couple of stats, by the way, that a question for me. Eddie George with us, Bowling Green football coach. Season tickets up 40% higher than this time a year ago. And season ticket holders compared to last year, over 233% increase. So you being in the community, you do have what is already a passionate fan base even more excited about the upcoming season. Who among your career, you played for some great ones, but is there anybody the biggest influence, Eddie, on you?
Well, I think all my coaches and mentors have had a major influence in my life. And whether it was my high school coach, Mickey Sullivan, who was just inducted into the National High School Football Hall of Fame here in Canton this past season, had a tremendous impact on my life and challenged me, really coached me as the person. Could care less about what I did on the football field. I was a scrawny little kid, I had an attitude, and I was very arrogant when I got to Fort King Military Academy, and I was humbled quickly. And I didn't start at all when I first got down there. I had to learn how to work. I had to learn how to be disciplined. He challenged me to be a leader in the barracks and to be a better person and a better student. And then it was Coach Cooper who really gave me the opportunity to play a running back and gave me the space to make mistakes. And he showed the grace and the confidence in me to give me that confidence to bounce back from some early mistakes I had as a freshman. And it was my running back coach, Tim Spencer, at Ohio State, that taught me the nuances and the details of how to be a professional, how to read defenses, how to show up on time, be the first one in the building, the last one to leave. So, and it's been a slew of others, Jeff Fisher, Sherman Smith, my running back. So from each, Bill Parcells. So every coach that I've come across in my life has left an impact and an impression on me that I've taken one thing from each guy or a couple things from each guy, and I've kind of created my own philosophy and coaching style from that. So there's not just one. There's just so many guys that it would be really a disrespect to all of them. I said there was just one person that had an huge impact on me.
I like to ask this of coaches. Do you have times where you hear Coach Cooper come out of your mouth. You hear Bill Parcells or Jeff Fisher or Sherman, like those guys, and you're like, oh my God. It's kind of like when you say something your dad would say, and you're like, that's no. Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Win the surest way. John Cooper. He always says that. Like, win the surest way. It means win by any means possible. And Jeff really, from a team management standpoint, just game plan, like not game planning, but just scheduling out your practices and how you practice and when to pull back, when having discernment to push guys and when to pull back and when to get your rest, when to really fight through adversity and stretch beyond your comfort zone. So all of those things come up at different points in time. It's weird because when you're in the moment, it comes up. It doesn't say, well, today I'm going to be Bill Parcells and use one of his. No, Bill Parcells was really meticulous about situational football and things that you would never think about. Always studying the rule book, always looking for ways that he could push the envelopes and be prepared for every possible situation that you're going to go through. So we're always prepared, always thinking about what your intentions are going to be. So, and that to me is invaluable. So I'm just so thankful and grateful that I've had the opportunity to be exposed to some Hall of Fame coaches in my life with their philosophies.
You coming off a team of 7-5, it's your first year, as you mentioned. The roster in this day and age, no matter who you are as a program, can be turned over quite a bit. Incoming players, outgoing players. There's so much to deal with, but at the same time, there's more off-season opportunities than ever before in college football. Yeah, there's a space where you got to leave everyone alone, your assistants and staff, strength and conditioning. Who are you? Do you know?
Who are we?
As far as like with your depth chart and who you have, and is there something that jumps out? Do you know that yet? Your depth, your strength, maybe need to work.
Well, we've identified what that is. I think we have an idea of the strength of our team is our offensive line. We're bringing back the majority of our guys from last year. A lot of these kids have played a lot of ball up front, not just last year, but the last couple of years. And this is a unit that's tight knit. Experienced, well coached. The areas that we have to improve in, I think, and we had question marks in the quarterback position. I think we may have addressed that. We're bringing in Drew Pine, who's had some tremendous experience in college football, played at Notre Dame, Arizona State, Missouri. He's 9-4 as a starter, 4-1 versus top 25 teams. So he's not going to be wide-eyed when it comes to playing in some of the bigger games in the different venues. So we just have some youth, the guys that doesn't have game experience, but they have the measurables and the intangibles that we're looking for the key positions, but they don't have the game experience. So now that's up for us coaches to simplify things, to allow them to give them a philosophy and a game plan that's simple, where they can just play fast and physical without thinking a whole lot. So we've got to be mindful not to overdo it and be too cute and do a lot. Less is more in a situation because of the timing of everything. And we just got to put these kids in position where they can just play fast and physical and come downhill and hit, run, and score.
With us on 365 Sports, you won the Heisman Trophy in '95. And Paul, listen to this, and I know this too, but Tommy Frazier, Danny Werfel, Peyton Manning, Keyshawn Johnson, Warwick Dunn were all in the voting. All of them were in the voting. And Eddie George, what a year to win the Heisman Trophy. My goodness, those are some alphas when it comes to college history.
Well, listen, you talk about just the Heisman Trophy, just that category. I mean, think about the All-American team of '95. Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, Terry Glenn, Keyshawn Johnson, Simeon Rice, Kevin Hardy, Zach Thomas, Teddy Bruschi. So it was that era of football, period, was for grown men only. And you know, Tommy Frazier, he's a Hall of Famer, and that could have gone either way. Clearly, it was at the time the closest Heisman race to date, and the team that he was on. But for most people, you say that's just probably one of the greatest teams ever in college football because they were so dominant at what they did. And for him, he's probably the greatest Nebraska Cornhusker to come through that program. So to edge him out to win the Heisman Trophy was really, really rewarding because it was very talented and it was a lot of guys that were worthy of winning that award.
Did you guys? I know that I'm a Florida State guy, and Smokey's a big Nebraska fan. So, did you and Florida State? Was that the Sugar Bowl year that you guys played?
No.
Or that was the year before?
We played them. That was '97.
Okay, yeah, okay,
yeah.
So that was after.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering if you and Warwick Dunn ever squared off in college. I know you did in the pros.
No, we didn't.
But yeah,
we didn't. I remember that game when they lost to Virginia. I think on a Thursday night game, like in October, like late October, early October, and that we saw that as an opportunity for us to go up in the polls because we were like number 3 at that particular time, and that's when it's like, okay, we got a shot at getting a shot at the national title at that particular time, and we had to play that team up north, and they destroyed our chances of going to a Rose Bowl and possibly competing for a national title. We would have played USC actually. Keyshawn Johnson and I always talk about squaring off and seeing each other in the Rose Bowl, and he said, I held up my end of the bargain. I said,
Eddie, my last question is, and if you don't, thank you for a lot of time because I know you got a lot on your plate. A lot of players who were in the NFL are starting to get into college coaching. A lot are starting to get opportunities, not just with HBCUs, but now with you at Bowling Green and others who are working themselves up the career ladder. It's kind of a refreshing thing in my mind that some guys that played the game at such a high level are now part of coaching the game at that level. Your thoughts about that kind of a trend?
Well, I think there've always been players that have played the game and that are coaching now, like Eddie Robinson, was a teammate of mine. You've got a slew of guys. He's coaching at Tennessee State now. Reggie Barlow was a 4th round pick coming out of Alabama State. So he's been in for a long. So what we're finding is when you're talking about guys that I guess have had amazing careers, they're getting into coaching now. And I think it's good in the sense that, hey, gives us an opportunity to show what we can do as leaders. Certainly our playing days and our experiences help a lot tremendously. It gives us credibility, but we also can speak from experience to every detail of how these kids live on a day-to-day basis. The moment that you wake up and go throughout your day, you go to class, you go to lift, you eat. We've lived it. We've done it. And we can speak to that in every, down to the very minute minute that you're doing something. So we can speak to all of that from experience, and it is gratifying. And once you get your sea legs underneath you, you're battle tested as a head coach, and you kind of understand the CEO world from the operation standpoint, the administrative work, and all that goes into it. And there's a hat that you got to go on. You got to go out and raise money, and raise awareness, and do all that. It can be really gratifying, and it's a coaching is a thing where it's a calling. I think some guys look at it as a job, as a profession, as a paycheck, but this is really a calling for me because I was doing something completely different. Didn't really want to get into coaching. Didn't want to deal with the long days, the headaches, the stresses, and all of that. But I had to mature into that. So it wasn't until I was in my late 40s when I felt that it might be the time to give back in this regard and really pour into these young men and to teach them and develop their character along the way, to coach them as a person and to allow me to grow as well as a man in this role. So coaching, in my opinion, is a calling, because if you're not called to do it, you're not going to go through the heartaches, the grind, the long nights, the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls that you're getting about a player, making decisions on tough decisions in your staff, tough decisions with maybe letting some players go and discipline certain guys. That's hard, and it has to be a God-given calling. So that's what I equate it to.
Man, Paul, what a 30 minutes, and a lot more time. We really appreciate it, Eddie. Thank you very much for who you are, what you represent, what you're trying to do, and what you will do. There's no question in my mind. And good luck as you get closer to all the fall workouts. And obviously, we're Bowling Green fans this year, and always appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. You guys, much appreciated, guys. Good luck with everything, Paul, David. Good luck to your teams. Nebraska's going to be pretty good this year.
We'll see.
I will see. I'll take any kind of upward trajectory, Eddie. Yeah.
I took a little bit of a dip last year.
Yeah. Eddie George, Bowling Green football coach, with us on 365 Sports. By the way, as the interview was wrapping up, Liberty AD Ian McCall sent me a note. He goes, "Hey, great interview with Eddie George. We play them week 3. Hope you are doing well." Ian, thank you very much for watching, and also for the very nice note with Liberty. When we come back, we have much more to get to, including our good friend, Jason Young. He is with the Mountain West podcast. And what's that?
The Big Mountain.
Yeah, the Big Mountain podcast. And he'll join us in the next segment. Also today, we have Antonio Morales with theathletic.com, plus Andrew Monaco, who's the voice of Texas A&M. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club tonight, dinner. Every once in a while, I hear Paul saying that he's about to go to the Baylor Club. He'll have dinner there. His mom, Amanda, and Paul. Tonight, they will have this as their main entree: bacon-wrapped stuffed chicken. That sounds delicious. Scarred tilapia with pineapple salsa. And then on top of that, they got sides with seasonal vegetables, green chili, macaroni and cheese, and also buffalo chicken dip, among certain salads, soups, in fact, clam chowder, and more. Also, they're running a special when it comes to if you want to have a wedding at the Baylor Club. They are doing this. Say I do to our once-in-a-lifetime wedding special on a Saturday in 2026. Now, there's some select dates. They have the prices there. A complete, full-service wedding package. And it shows what it includes. Go to their Facebook page, Baylor Club on Facebook. There's all sorts of amenities and all sorts of what they'll do on your wedding day. There's 6 to 8 different dates available. And again, they have the pricing and also what you get with that. It's a beautiful place. Saturdays during Friday night against Auburn, and much more. Always electric, but great if you're a member there. The Baylor Club is part of Club Corps. You can use that membership elsewhere, including golf courses around the country. The Baylor Club, inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Jason Young covers the Mountain West Conference. He joins us on 365 Sports. He has the Big Mountain podcast. And Jason, great to have you with UNLV Rebels, Dan Mullen and company as they enter. Of course, they just had their media days as well. You're on with Paul and Craig too. Jason, was there anything that came out of it of interest with it? So much of a transition in the future, not up for grabs, but kind of somewhat the unknown.
Yeah, there's some interesting nuggets that came out of the media days here. Thanks again for having me on the channel here and talking about the Mountain West. But yeah, I think a couple things that came up. Obviously, the mediation news hit on Tuesday. Of course, nobody in the conference is going to talk about that. That's ongoing and active litigation. So there was nothing really happening there with that. The media package, there were some nuggets that Gloria Nevarez put out here with their media package for 2026. They're now just started their last year with their existing package and then their existing membership before, some of the schools are leaving. So there was some nuggets here where it sounds like they're going to maintain some of their existing partners. And she also mentioned there will be new partners. Of course, she didn't say who they would be, but they are towards the end of that. They're in the details of that. I would expect them to announce the entire package all at one time, maybe by the end of July or August sometime. I'm thinking another month or so. They didn't put a firm deadline on that, but that's just the kind of reading the tea leaves that they said. So it does sound like they're going to have at least one new partner, and I think it may be more streaming than anything. We talked a lot about GCU. Of course, they're being added right now. They were added immediately when that was announced. So they're going to be joining in all of the sports that the Mountain West has here, and really a lot of excitement for them to join the league right now. We talked about that with Gloria and how it really elevates every sport in the Mountain West. So I think everybody's super excited here to have that happen, maybe minus a few of the departing schools as they made some of those statements a week or two ago. So that was really nice to hear that. And just overall positivity. I mean, they are absolutely shooting for the CFP again. They think it's absolutely doable. Of course, UNLV's up there at the top. You've got Boise again looking to be near the top. And I think San Jose State, with the schedule that they have, that's your 1, 2, and 3. And it's kind of anybody's game to see who makes it into the championship.
JY, what do you think their overall plan is going to be moving forward to deepen the value of the conference, given the fact that they did lose. They're losing a good chunk of their meat and potatoes there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Boise, brings value to any conference. Absolutely no doubt about that. And really kind of not replaceable, being in a G6 and in the Western Mountain and Pacific time zone. So they're absolutely, they're special in that regard. They are a loss. Outside of the specific schools, I think it's just more about inventory and it being able to have games on at, for networks at the 9 p.m. hour on the East or the 10 p.m. hour on the East. That's providing that inventory that these providers are looking for. And, I don't want to say that the teams don't matter. They certainly matter. But the inventory is important. They want to be showing live football at 10 p.m. East Coast. And Hawaii adds a ton of value as that latest time slot you can absolutely have. They're now a full-time, or full member, I should say, in every sport here in 2026. But yet, I think they've been pretty strategic in trying to add certain markets, that Chicagoland area. They're into Texas now, GCU in Arizona. You looked at the map and it was just a glaring kind of hole in the Mountain West footprint, being that the state of Arizona. Now, I know they don't play football, but I think that's just getting more eyes on the conference. So by no means am I saying it's equal. It's not. But I think they've been pretty strategic in what they're doing. I also don't think they're done. But I think we're going to need to wait on a lot of this governance stuff that's going on, whether there's congressional action, just too many unknowns right now. They've backfilled where they need to go, and I think they'll be more strategic moving forward, depending upon what happens here kind of more globally.
Jason, when it comes to Grand Canyon, what was the reasoning behind, I guess, bumping up their entrance into the conference? And also, I saw like the statement from Boise, for example, and they're pointing out some of the reasons as to why. But what was the big pushback in terms of the departing schools and Grand Canyon's early entrance?
Yeah, I think why it happened early was because they didn't have a home. Grand Canyon didn't have a home here in this year because of them originally going to leave for the West Coast Conference. Then when they got the Mountain West invite, they backed out of the West Coast Conference and then the Mountain West. Originally, it was reported that they would join, July 1st, 26 at the latest. And that was in the original publication and announcement. So I always, we talked on our channel a lot that I really thought they would be added a year ahead if everything would get worked out. Certainly the mediation and stuff with the PAC didn't help any of that situation. But once those 5 schools left the conference, and why I say left, if everyone remembers, they announced they were joining the PAC many months ago, and we all know what their future holds, but they never actually withdrew from the conference per the Mountain West bylaws. They did not give the written notice. They did not pay the $5,000. That actually occurred on June 29th. The deadline for that in terms of their exit fee amounts was June 30th. So as soon as that happened, they became they went into this interim period. And as part of being in the interim period, you lose all managerial and voting rights within the conference. So you're still in the conference in terms of the scheduling and all that kind of jazz, but you really lose all managerial rights. It's in the bylaws. That's a contract. They all signed it. So I think that was the spearhead then for the other members to move forward because they do not have a voice. And they can come out and clearly Boise and San Diego State came out with some, their opinions on it. But when you read the bylaws, when you read the contract, they do not have a voice in whether or not they could add. And the ad makes complete sense. You're already, in my opinion, they were already getting GCU. They needed a home earlier. It elevates this conference in just about every sport. So I just don't see a lot of negatives to it because they were coming anyway. So, hey, let's get the Lopes in here.
There's a bunch of, you want to have a follow-up to that? A bunch of coaches that in the conference, Dan Mullen with UNLV. I have always really enjoyed Matt Entz, who's now at Fresno State. He made a comment that I heard Steve Sarkisian one time make, something about, for the entirety of our world and lifetime, big people have ruled the earth or something like that, which Sarkisian talks about big bodies or whatever. Give me a little idea about what Matt Entz and Fresno State you think this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to like there with Coach Entz. We spoke with him here at the media days. Definitely, they're transitioning on from Tedford, who's been a staple coach here on the west side of the country for a long time, tons of knowledge, great head coach. But they bring in Entz, who has a lot of background, and they've always kind of fought above their weight class there in Fresno State. Anytime you have that transition, it's tough for any of us to say, well, it's a new head coach. They've had a lot of turnover. Offensively, most of their production is gone for this year. And that's not a negative. It's just it's a huge unknown. So, I think the jury's out to see how kind of the transition happens in year one. But I'll tell you, if there's any school that just seems to handle these types of transitions well, it's Fresno State. So I would not count them out. And I think they got a fantastic head coach there in Coach Entz.
They're picked in the middle of the league, right? JY, I was really kind of surprised about that because they don't really stumble that much. What do you think it is about their program that's enabled them to do so well when they change from coach to coach to coach as often as they do? Because it's kind of ironic that they're famous for their crops out there and they grow coaches at Fresno State, it appears.
Yes, well said. I think it is the Valley. I think it's that area. I think they have that local talent that they can continue to dip into. They just have a good infrastructure and structure there within the university from a leadership role. I know we've had AD Classy on, and he's new to Fresno too. So they've had some turnover, but I think they've brought in the right people. AD Garrett Classy is top notch. He's a great guy. I think he's looking ahead. He wants to build for the future, and they want to invest more. And they're trying to do all that. Of course, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But I think because you have that high level leadership and that buy-in of the community. I mean, they have the top fan base. They sell out all the time. Them and Boise are probably the best home field advantages in terms of crowd size that you probably have in the Mountain West right now. So they have a ton of support there in the Valley. And I think it's just that. They grow coaches and they grow players, and they're pretty good at it.
How much bad blood are you anticipating this football season? Because on the one hand, I mean, you're talking about the Mountain West and their future, but then there's also this intermingling of the schools that are still there. And we kind of experienced that talking about the Big 12 for about a year. It's kind of strange, is it not? And kind of how are you approaching that and balancing, coverage, so to speak?
Yeah, so I will say, let me do the coverage piece first. For me this season, we're all Mountain West schools, and we cover the Mountain West, and I will continue to give every school my honest opinion, regardless of whether they're moving on or not. So, for this next year, we're the Mountain West, and we're continuing to try and promote that brand. I think for the schools moving on, kind of like on the field type of stuff, it'll be interesting to see. I didn't see any of that here at Media Days. I will say it was interesting. They do the coaches pick. Somebody was calling it the family photo or something, where you have all the coaches up on the stage with Commissioner Navarez, and they take that pick. That was interesting. You've got 5 schools here that are going to be moving on, but with the transfer portal, transition of coaches, and all this, honestly, some of those coaches wouldn't have been here next year anyway, probably, right? So we'll see. I don't have much opinion. It did not seem awkward in the space, at least where I was at. Now, I was super busy getting interviews and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't seem awkward to me. I talked to a couple people, and they say the players, that some of them don't even know it. Like they're like, oh, when is that happening? Oh, that's next year. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not even going to be here next year. So it was kind of, I'm sure that's not prevalent throughout. That's maybe school by school, but certainly us on the pods love to talk about that kind of stuff. We'll see how it affects the play on the field. I mean, you would think it's going to drive some of that a little bit more, I would assume. But I didn't really see it here in Las Vegas.
So when the Mountain West and the Pac-12 decided to share the teams and have their schedules and all of that, and that's part of what the tampering, or whatever that word has been used on one of the lawsuits, poaching.
Poaching, yeah.
They had to have thought that might happen anyway, right? Gloria Navarez, didn't she kind of have an idea that was going to happen?
100%, and she has said that. Maybe not quite as pointed as that, but they always knew that was a risk. She said from the day, and I'm paraphrasing some kind of things that she said in the past, but from the day that the Pac fell apart, blew up, whatever you want to call it, and became the Pac-2, the Mountain West knew right then there was a risk to their current membership and current conference. Now, nobody knew exactly what that meant, what that risk was, number of teams, but they knew it was a risk. And so moving forward, and absolutely, when you look at that scheduling agreement and the wording that was put in there, now we have a lawsuit about the poaching penalties and this and that and everything else. You can see that the Mountain West absolutely knew what could happen. And honestly, at this point, I would say maybe likely was going to happen with some schools. I'm not saying it was going to be 5 or 8 or 2. I don't know if they knew the number, but I think they knew it was probably likely because I always, take people back to San Diego State and what had happened just a few years before the Pac-12 fell apart. San Diego State was publicly out of the Mountain West at that time, and then couldn't close the deal. So at the very least, I would have thought that the Mountain West knew that San Diego State was likely going to be gone. And so, yeah, I think they have done everything that they can to kind of protect their fort, and continue on as a conference. And in my opinion, you can call me jaded, you can call me a homer of the Mountain West. I think she's done an outstanding job.
Well, we had her on the show. She was very impressive when we had her on the show about a year ago, or maybe a little bit longer than that.
How serious do you think it ever got with a merger talk? Because it certainly didn't seem like it was ever really that serious on Oregon State and Wazoo's part. Especially given the fact that they're thumbing their nose at these poaching fees that they say, yeah, we know they're in there, but we don't care.
I don't think, my opinion, covering all of this, I don't think, especially Oregon State, really ever had any thought of having a merger. I don't think they had any interest in it. I think they would have done everything except merged with the Mountain West. That maybe is extreme, but I really think that's where Oregon State was at and is at. Washington State, maybe not as extreme, but at the same time, they've been a pair here through thick and thin over the last 2 years, and everything that they've had to go through and deal with as a 2-member conference. So I think it would have been hard to piecemeal or separate those 2 universities. So I think from the Pac-2 side, I don't think it was ever a real option. I think the Mountain West was open to it. Absolutely. Why wouldn't 2 join 12? But I don't think it was a Pac-2 option really at all.
So, Jason, you've been covering this story from the very start on pretty much a daily basis, right? I mean, whatever things have changed, I know that you've been all over it. So this week there was the news they can't agree in mediation on the poaching penalties. The Pac feels like they shouldn't have to pay anything. The Mountain West is like, there's tens of millions of dollars at stake. We want our money. And so they couldn't agree. And so now there is a date, in September? And can you kind of just, set the stage for what this means? And are you at all, just as somebody who has been all over this, surprised that we've arrived at this point? Just kind of your thoughts on where this all is.
Yeah, so where we're at, they've been in mediation now since it was, I can't remember the exact date in May, but it's been about 2 months that we've been trying to have this mediation. They had one extension on it. And as we found out on Tuesday, they couldn't come to an agreement. What does that mean? I don't know. I was a little surprised, honestly, that they were in mediation this long and now they can't come to an agreement. Because you would think, like, when you sit down at the table here day 1 or 2, you kind of know your number, you kind of know where you're at. And if you're not close enough, you're not going to spend, 2 months like trying to get closer. So I was pretty surprised that they didn't come to an agreement. There's speculation that the GCU edition was kind of the nail in the coffin on mediation. I don't know that. Again, speculation, but when that news came out, and again, you saw 2 of the schools in the comments that they had, you can agree with them or disagree with them, but that was supposedly kind of like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. We're moving forward with the lawsuit. So that's where we're at. You're right, September. The first step in that, the Mountain West actually filed a motion to dismiss the case in California. That's the Pac-12 poaching penalty case. So what they first have to do is have a hearing and have a judge rule on whether or not it should be dismissed. And they're not even going to move forward. Highly unlikely. Dismissals are rare. But that's the next step. If it is not dismissed, then we start moving forward after that step. But that's what's going to come here in September. I haven't seen any dates for the it would be the Utah State, Colorado State, Boise State lawsuit on the exit fees. That one's in Colorado. I have to kind of dust off my notes and see where we're at after mediation failed and see how that's going to be moving forward. But that's where we're at right now. They're dug in, and here we go.
So the correct me if I'm wrong, the $50 million for poaching fees, is that total or per school?
It's total.
Okay,
Yeah,
total. And then there's 17 per school for exit fees, right? And if Boise had their way, they're not paying anything, right? Is that what they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, well, it's two. Again, to be clear, it is two different lawsuits, as you said.
Yeah.
The poaching one is in a federal court in California, and it's $55 million in total is what was in the scheduling agreement. Then the exit fees, it's dependent upon the payout of revenue, the member distributions. I've kind of used 15. I've seen some people say 17, 18. I don't know the exact number, but we're gonna use 15 to 17 is probably a decent number. I think that one's all about negotiating a smaller amount. Whether they're not going to pay zero in exit fees. There's past practice about exit fees. Typically, if this happens, there's a settlement of some kind for the exit fees. So the exit fee one to me is purely just negotiating a lower number than the 15 or 17 million. The poaching penalty is novel. I mean, nobody's really done this before in the college football realm, and that one's going to be interesting. And it's in a federal court. So the big issue that the PAC is bringing up, several. But the biggest thing is that they're saying it's anti-trade. They can't limit the movement of schools, and so you can't do this. Another one, hey, you're double dipping. Basically, we're paying two exit fees for the same thing. You can't do that. So we'll see. There's lawyers on every side, and that's what lawyers are paid for. They're paid to argue one side or the other. So that's what we're going to have.
Jason, last thing, and you do a great job of covering what you do, the Big Mountain podcast, but. This conference, the Mountain West Conference, has like 9 lives. The Big 12 has had a lot of things happen, but like Utah, TCU, BYU, and others have been a part of this conference, and yet they find a way. And I know that what's happening now and what's about to happen is going to make it a little bit more difficult, but man, they've got a lot of history in this conference. There's a lot of pride in this conference. They're fighting, scratching, and clawing. I appreciate that.
I totally agree. And Commissioner Navarez will say that. We always rebuild. She said it at her State of the Conference address to open media days. We always rebuild. We always move forward. And so that's, to your point, that's been the history of the Mountain West. And they do always rebuild. They had the BYUs. They had the Utahs. And when you look at their players, they want players to call it move up, right? Move on, exceed and excel. So, you can look at it from a player standpoint. You can look at it from a university standpoint, and they're not shy about saying that's who we are. And I think that's what's healthy about it. They're not clinging on to the past. They're ready to move forward. And just all of their phrases, the ascend together, join the ascent, it's exactly who they are. And of course it fits the mountain theme as well, but that's what the conference is about. So I'm spot on with you. I think they go to what's next. Where are we going?
Yep, that you can only have a pity party if that. I don't know if they've ever had that, but it's been quite the journey. You do a great job, Jason. Thanks for your time. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you guys so much.
Jason Young, the Big Mountain podcast with us on 365 Sports. Antonio Morales, I just texted him, Garrett. We'll have him after the commercial break.
Yeah, I mean, that was really good stuff. If you're a Mountain West fan, obviously you're probably already well aware of their podcast and even a Pac-12 fan at this point. But he and his partner do a good job in covering that part of the universe in college football. And so Hopefully, I know for some people, you probably don't care, but I think it's an interesting story that's continued to drag on, especially at how heavily crossover involved we were with the Pack there for a little while, and just talking about them so much is like, now here's their next phase. And there is this legal skirmish that, guys, may not seem like a big deal, but when you're the Mountain West and you've promised these other schools like money to stick around, and you're expecting a certain amount of money to be headed your way, even though you know it's not going to be in full, but we're talking over $100 million. That's not chump change for anybody. That's not chump change for anybody.
Even a settlement looks like it's going to end up being pretty.
I mean,
costly.
The SEC thinks $100 million is a lot of money. That's what's in the mix right now. Now, it will probably be negotiated down and whatnot, but still, tens of millions of dollars that you're hoping and you're expecting to come your way. So I just find it to be kind of interesting, this little back and forth, and the Pack going from the bully to the bully in some ways.
Yeah, from them saying, hey, everyone's picking on us, to them turning around, which is kind of like the dog-eat-dog mentality, right? That when it comes to a lot of things. When we come back, Antonio Morales with theathletic.com. He will be with us for a short bit. He and Sam Kahn did the double team story about the quarterback tiers around the country. He's next. This is 365 Sports.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Oh, by the way, Antonio just said that he's going to try to call you back, Garrett, or try to call him again. Let me make sure what he said on the tweet. Okay. Yeah, he's going to call you back, I believe, at that number. By the way, Arizona State, I saw this on my timeline just a second ago. Here are the rings. Special delivery. Finally arrived. The Big 12 championship rings. Arizona State University showing that baby off.
Yeah, those are quite fancy.
Lots of diamonds.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of diamonds on those Sun Devil championship rings. We're now joined by Antonio Morales. Antonio, thank you very much for your patience. I know you got something you need to get to as well. So we had Sam Kahn on yesterday. He's on with us a lot, and he was on. He talked about the dual combo job that you guys did on the quarterback tiers. How much prep work did you have to do before you put this thing together?
A lot. If you want to watch Sun Belt football at 2 a.m. in the morning and not get much sleep for a couple of weeks, then go for it. But that's what I had to do for a couple of weeks there, and it was pretty exhausting. But it was rewarding just to dive into football and watch these quarterbacks and watch these different offenses and see what's going on. I don't like to write about quarterbacks unless I've watched them personally. So it was just a lot of quarterbacks to watch. I know we divvied it up by conferences, so I know I did a lot of Sun Belt, Mountain West, Big Ten, American, some other leagues. So, and obviously I've seen some of the leagues that Sam wrote about too. But still, even if we split it into leagues, it was still a lot of work to do.
Well, as I go through the list, I think that maybe 1 to 20 and tearing those out was probably pretty speedy compared to the rest. When you start getting into the weeds of how much, because you've got 6 tiers, right? When you start getting into the weeds, then that's when it probably starts to get really hard, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because there's so many unknowns, so many new situations, and you're accounting for guys who might have played a bit, but now they're going to a new school. So how are they going to adjust and adapt to a new system, new conference, new school, new coaches? Things like that. So it gets really tough. I know we have Josh Johnson at Air Force ranked last. I'm pretty sure that has mainly to do with academy school, the guy who hasn't played a lot. So you have to think about those things too. And we talked to a lot of people from every conference in the country to kind of get an idea of what they felt and what they thought was going on. So we talked to people in these leagues and asked them what was going on too. And some of them were even especially when you get to the G5 leagues, that's really tough because there's so much changeover and so many guys who haven't played yet. So even some of the people in the league are unfamiliar with what they think is going to happen. So I don't feel as bad knowing the people who are working in those leagues are having a tough time with it too.
Would you say the SEC has the best crop of quarterbacks top to bottom, or would it be the Big 12? I think those would be the two choices, right? I'm thinking maybe the SEC has the more top-heavy as far as elite, top draft pick guys, but maybe the Big 12 is a bit deeper. Do you see it that way, or do you see it differently?
I think the SEC is the top-end guys, but I think the Big 12 might have more proven guys, because even Arch Manning, I know he's obviously very talented. He was number 10 on our list, but he still hasn't played at any point. Played 2 games. I think once you get down, I think Noah Fafita might have been the 8th or 10th quarterback in the Big 12 for us, and he's played a lot. So I think there's just the Big 12 is a very experienced league, and I think it has that edge over the SEC. And the SEC might have the talent edge, but the Big 12 just has a lot of experience, a lot of proven guys.
Antonio, you have John Mateer at Oklahoma. We've talked about him quite a bit this week with the SEC media days, but there's a lot of quarterbacks now that have transferred. Dampier to Utah from New Mexico, et cetera. Of all the transfer quarterbacks, you mentioned how good they might have been, or maybe they weren't as good and now moving into a different system. How much time did that take to kind of decipher maybe a projection? Because you talk with Nick Baumgartner, Dane Brugler, among many others.
Yeah, and we talked to a lot of coaches too, and this isn't the first time we've talked to coaches about Mateer. Me and Sam worked on a transfer portal confidential back in February or March. It's about who we thought. I remember we asked coaches who they thought the best quarterback in the portal was, and they everyone unanimously brought up Mateer back then. And then there's a lot of people we highly respect that we talked to for this story, and they just gushed about Mateer. And part of me in the past has been okay, how's this move going to work? He's going from basically playing a Mountain West schedule to the SEC. I'm I don't know. It's a big jump in competition. So part of me is I don't know how that's going to be. Then another part of me is well, Diego Pavia just did that, and he went from Conference USA to the SEC, and he was just fine. That's a bigger jump from the Mountain West. So it can be done, and I think a lot of people have confidence that Mateer is going to be able to succeed there. And I think a lot of that's probably because Ben Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator from Washington State, is coming to Oklahoma too. So There's a lot of people who just are very big fans of Mateer. And I remember there's one coach I talked to, and then I was like surprised because like the most enthusiasm you heard from his voice was talking about Mateer. And I just think people are really, really high on him and really, really respect him. And I think Oklahoma got a good one.
I notice going back down to Tier 7, if I had told you a couple years ago that Walker Howard and Malachi Nelson would be on that tier several years into their college career, would you have believed me?
No. Obviously, Walker Howard was at LSU, and I was confused by the transfer to Ole Miss because I remember when he went there, they already had Dart, and Spencer Sanders came in, so he was going to be in a crowded room with guys who are more experienced. I didn't know he was going to stay there for 2 years, and then obviously the Malachi Nelson thing. I wrote about Malachi Nelson when he was a freshman in high school. I just remember the hype that he got, and I remember when he was at USC, I wasn't sure if it was going to work out there just because they had Miller Moss's experience. So I didn't know if it was going to be as simple and easy as him taking over the reins as people thought it was going to be. But him not starting at Boise and then him being in a competition at UTEP, that's been surprising. So I would have never expected that. And I'm curious to see how him and Walker Howard both do this year. I think Walker Howard will for sure get the chance to play and start. I know Malachi still has some work to do, but I'm curious to see what happens with both of them.
Pavia, he's not the first transfer. Sam Levitt, of course, had a great run last year at Arizona State, and other transfer quarterbacks have too. I think that everyone should send Pavia or those who have transferred and had success like Fernando Mendoza, Darian Mensah, who got a bunch of money. Those guys need to have like a back tax to the ones that transferred and did really well, like really, really well. Don't you think, Antonio?
Yeah, definitely. Now everybody wants to take a chance on anyone. So I think, Pavia, it just injected so much life and energy into Vanderbilt's program. That was a coaching staff and a fan base that was pretty down before he got there. And then they had him, Eli Stowers, and Jerry Kill came up from New Mexico State. And they just, obviously, that Alabama win was huge, probably the best win in program history. And then now Vanderbilt has all this momentum and all this buzz. So we saw what one transfer at quarterback can do for a program, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are hoping they can get a similar effect, a similar impact this year. Obviously, you mentioned Darian Mensah at Duke. We never really think of Duke as this big spender, but they spent for him, and so it's got these transfer quarterbacks have programs acting differently and operating differently, and it just goes to show you the importance of the position and the amount of change it can bring.
One of the guys on the list, 36, Noah Fafita, he was at one point last year probably in the top, 10 or 15 maybe. I don't know about overall, but man, his stock has fallen quite a bit. And you wonder about with his wide receiver now in the NFL, and they came off a bad year where he is. But man, he was so highly thought of just 2 years ago before Jed Fish went to Washington.
Yeah, I saw him in his first start against USC in 2023, and he lit up USC, and he had a great year. I think he threw 25 touchdowns and like 6 interceptions that year. So he had a really good year. Obviously, T-Mac, Jed Fish was the coach at the time, and they just had a really good feel for one another. And last year they brought in a new coaching staff, and things just didn't mesh well at all. And the offense, obviously, they had T-Mac, and I don't know if they just had much else of a plan other than throw the ball to T-Mac, and they just looked kind of discombobulated and Noah regressed. I think he's still very talented. I'm personally a Seth Dagey believer.
Mm-hmm.
I covered him when he was at USC. I think he's a really good coach, great recruiter. We've seen what he got the 4-star quarterback Oscar Rios to commit to Arizona recently. And I liked what he did at Marshall last year in his first year as offensive coordinator. I think he can get Noah Fafita back on track. I'm pretty confident that he can. He's been around some good coaches and some good systems, and I think that'll help Noah a lot. And I like some of the some of the transfer portal pickups they've had to kind of support and surround Noah with some good skill guys too.
Last thing for me, Antonio, Bryce Underwood, you have listed at 50 and a new starter. He is, I mean, again, big NIL deal, number one quarterback in the country and all of that. How many games do you think Mikey Keene actually gets to start this year?
I'm not sure if he's going to be able to start any because he missed the spring with a knee injury. I think before that, I would have told you maybe 3 or 4, and then maybe they'd go to Underwood and try to hold off having to throw him into the fire until as late as possible. But with the fact that Keene missed all the spring, we saw them bring in Jake Garcia from East Carolina to kind of add another veteran presence in the room. Makes me wonder if Keene will be ready for camp and be ready to play right away. So I think they've tried to add some veteran insurance in that position group, and it makes me think that Underwood's going to be in line to start it right away.
Man, I tell you what, looking at this list, you realize how many quarterbacks have transferred. It is unbelievable. Remember, Antonio, in the good old days when you and I were young, where you pretty much had to be a grad transfer, right, to be able to play. Yep. Well, you had to be a grad transfer to have a chance to play right away. Unbelievable amount of work, and we've had others there's a magazine, Pick Six Previews, with our guest yesterday. The dozens and dozens and sometimes days that go by, bleary-eyed, like studying for a chemistry test in college. What was it like once you wrote the article, once it was published? Did you get a chance to take a deep breath? Did you ask for a couple extra days off?
I took a week vacation. That's when we finished. I think we finished around like the end of June, and then everything else after that was kind of editing and finalizing how we felt about some certain rankings and stuff. I think it was like June 25th was when we finished, and I remember I went to go get a big burrito right after, and then took a week off. I took the next week off. I remember telling Sam, like, "Hey, man, I'm so exhausted right now. I'm really glad we're done with this."
Well, thanks for your time today, man. We do appreciate it. I know we ran a little bit late. Thanks for your patience, and have a great weekend. Get some rest.
All right, you too. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Antonio Morales, theathletic.com. You look at the list of 136 quarterbacks, and you realize, and I know that a lot of us, there's a lot of returning starters, but how many transfers? A ton. But the first 10 or 12 quarterbacks on the list, the first 11 quarterbacks, the only one who is a transfer in that list is Mateer at Oklahoma from Washington State. The first 11 quarterbacks either were on the team a year ago or returning starters, all the way down to 11 with Sawyer Robertson.
Yeah, I mean, those top guys are all there, but then you go 11 transfer, 12 transfer, 13 transfer, 15 transfer. So, I mean, yeah, those top 10, 17 transfer,
Mendoza,
18 transfer,
Mensa,
19 transfer, 21 transfer. Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. But, yeah, the top part of the list is guys who have basically stayed in place. But you go past that top 10, and it's very much a transfer-heavy list. And I could keep going. Devin Dampier at 25 transfer, Dante Moore, like so on. I will say this too. I am probably the one that's most vocal about how sometimes it can kind of be annoying when these conference lines are always drawn over like every little thing now at this point. I understand why, and I take part in some of those discussions when, I find it interesting, but I don't try to like make it every single thing that we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what it's turned into because of this last round of realignment and just the survival and all of that kind of stuff. So I get why that is still and will be probably a thing and be bigger than it's ever been before moving forward as well. But I asked him about the Big 12 and the SEC, and I got to give some credit to the ACC as well. I mean, I don't know that I would have them above either one of those, but they have a pretty solid crop of quarterbacks as well. I mean, with Carson Beck and Haynes King and Darian Mensah and Kevin Jennings, also part of that mix. And Paul would know because Paul's the ACC fan, but point being that they've got a pretty nice little crop of quarterbacks. I wouldn't trade the Big 12s for their, I wouldn't trade that. And I do think the SEC's got like the top draft pick guys. Klubnik, yes, thank you. I mean, I knew I was missing somebody. The obvious one, he's number one on the list, so I was not trying to miss out. But yeah, he's the number one guy. And then all the other guys that I just mentioned, Beck and King and Mensah and Jennings and all those guys. But yeah, that's a good group, and it's amazing. A year ago, Cade Klubnik was like poo-poo when people were talking about him, right? Like, oh, he hadn't lived up to this and hadn't lived up to that. He might have been
kind of what we think of Carson Beck now, that we need to see it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw it, though, at the end of last year, especially.
No, Klubnik now.
That's why
I'm
it's
talking about
not
this time last year.
Now, Carson Beck's very much of like, is he worth that amount of money, and is he worth all of the talk at least a few months ago? Because I don't feel like there's been a ton of talk lately. But no, it's fun to see it all lined up, and I can see where that does definitely get to be arduous once you get past a certain point, because the elite guys are kind of the elite, but then you get into the rest of the entire country, and it's like, is the quarterback at Navy better than the quarterback at, wherever? And so it's a fun exercise, and I know people have the definite changes that they would make on this, but it's fun to see it, and good job on those guys for putting it all together.
Yeah, I think the key with Klubnik was having the second year with Garrett Riley. I think that was a big deal. And I also think, to Dabo's credit, year one, he was making Garrett Riley try to run Dabo's offense, and it just didn't work. And then when he let Garrett Riley run Garrett Riley's offense, then, oh, look at that. Well, what do you know? And so that happens a lot. That coaches, okay, this guy can come in and he can give us new ideas for the system we're already running. And then it just, you feel like it's square peg and round hole kind of a thing, or it's just not clicking all the way. And then you just back off and say, you know what? Like, just call what you want to call. I hired you for a reason and paid you a bunch of money for a reason. And Dabo's done that there. And Cade Klubnik is the major beneficiary of it.
I kind of thought Kevin Jennings at 8's a bit high, but I understand.
That popped out of me, but more.
Yeah,
I love Kevin Jennings.
I like him a lot.
I might have put him that high.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I just thought when I initially saw it at 8, I was like, 8? Okay. But you see who's around him, and you can see the argument for it. I definitely feel like Drew Aller's like the guy, though, this year that's going to be under the microscope, and you can just tell in the way people kind of talk about him. There's very much a mixed reaction. Not that he's not talented. There's no argument that he's not talented, but just what kind of pro prospect is he, and can he lead them to a national title is more of the question. And I've seen plenty of people who have doubted Drew Aller. I have, from time to time, I felt like, man, he's getting a little bit too much love for what he's done, but he's a really solid player. I feel like he's going to be the guy, if not Carson Beck, that everybody kind of has this mixed opinion on until we go see what he does this year.
I don't know. I remember Aller. Obviously, they had a great run last year, but I wonder if it's because Penn State quarterbacks in general always seem to like Todd Blackledge, among others. He just it's not like nothing flashy. He just does well. And I think it's because they're uniforms. I think people just don't think he's flashy because of the black and the Nittany Lion blue and the black high tops at times. Kevin Jennings, his team went to the playoff, and he was spectacular.
But they had an incredible defense. They had a really good skill set of guys. I'm not knocking him by any means. I'm just saying, like, I saw him at 8, and I go, damn, he's the 8th best quarterback in the country. Well, I mean, you can definitely make that argument. I just said that just popped out to me. So, yeah, I think you've got every reason to be excited about what he can do. And I also think he just left a really bad taste in people's mouths with the way, speaking of Penn State, with the way that all ended up. I mean, that was a horrific performance the last time we saw him, guys.
Yeah.
Like, that was all-timer bad. Like, it's hard to imagine he'll have a worse game than that game that he had the last time we saw him. So that's probably still sitting around in my mind as well. But, no, I have big expectations for Kevin Jennings.
Yeah, Notre Dame hammered him pretty good, right, in the college football playoff. Was it?
It's Penn State, wasn't it?
What did I say?
I said Notre Dame.
No, are you talking about Penn State?
Talking about Kevin Jennings.
Oh, okay, SMU. Yeah, that didn't go well. No, I get what you're saying. I'm sorry. I thought I got mixed up in Aller compared to Kevin Jennings. Is it Charisse who's in our chat room? She is an instigator. She's a big problem. She has an attitude, guys, and she's a proud Ohio State Buckeye. This, as I was walking out of the building, I've seen this before when I get out of the car to walk around the corner. We're in a 3-story building. And I saw this. I've seen this really even since last year's run. But I wanted to let Charisse know that Ohio State resides in the building of which we broadcast. There's a proud Ohio State Buckeye flag hanging from the second floor at about where I park my car almost every day. There we are. There we are with that. Do we have the coffee mugs?
Buckeyes are everywhere, man. They're all over the place. So not surprised when I saw that flag go up.
They are. As we mentioned earlier this week, they don't have off years. Well, for them, they might think they do. So remember our appearance with Cody Campbell, or his appearance with us. Retired stockbroker sent these images on a coffee mug to really what has become a blood brother with Kim Coulter. He's a coffee mug phenom with Paul. You getting yours last week?
I got one. I can't show the back half of it.
Why not?
Because it has a dirty word. And I'm the one who said the dirty word, but still.
And Urban Meyer. But that's a pretty cool thing right there. Retired stockbroker, by the way. He hates it when I call him Chris. Is Christopher sent me a text that he was trying to send to Kim. And I got confused by that. But, hey, thank you for doing all that. And also, I thought Sharice would love to see the picture of the Ohio State flag, too.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Sharice and all the Buckeyes out there. Good to have you a part of the show whenever you can be a part of the show. And, yeah, I see that Ohio State flag, and I just marvel at the size of the fan base and how widespread that they are. So, yeah, like I said a second ago, not surprised to see a flag just randomly, because Buckeyes fans are everywhere. And then obviously got a lot of love for our other chatters, and shout out to chat. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, because we haven't said that today.
Again. Say that again.
If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Numbers tell us that a majority of people who watch don't actually subscribe, and that's a problem for us because we want subscribers. So if you haven't, and you give us just a few minutes every now and then, click that button. We would appreciate it very much. But, good to run into Kim last week, and just the Cody Campbell experience was cool. It was a cool little thing that was unexpected. And then Ross Dellinger to go and snap the pic of him sitting down with us and put it out there, which I guess was used for that was actually looked like it was a screen cap.
No, that's something.
Screen cap.
Yeah.
But Ross had a picture that looked a lot like that. So, yeah, shout out to everybody. How about that on a Friday? Shout out to everybody.
I had some people that actually contacted me, I guess, later that night or the next day, that said, you guys had Cody Campbell on. I go, yeah. I thought they were watching our show. They saw it because of a Ross Dellinger tweet with him sitting at our table in Frisco last week.
I'll tell you what, man, everybody's complaining about certain aspects of college football, and I'm included in that. I think you care about something, you point out its faults or things that you think could be better and all of that. But I listen to a station up in Dallas on occasion when I'm like driving around, the Ticket, which is like one of the biggest stations in the entire country. And for the longest time, they did not talk college football at all. And they have a couple guys who are newer hires in the last couple of years or whatnot, but they had Cody Campbell on like the day or two after we did, and we're talking to him a little bit, and it wasn't a better interview than we did, but it was just interesting to hear him kind of making the rounds and to see what comes from that. But I also have noticed that, I don't know, man, like there's suddenly this Fox crossover with Barstool that's amping up, at least some of their college football coverage. That station I just mentioned is talking way more college football now than they ever did before. I think part of that's there's a lot of Longhorns and Sooners, so now they're, SEC, but my point being, I don't think the coverage is lessening. I think that the coverage is only growing. And so when you talk about, well, it's dying and this and that, I mean, it remains to be seen. Nothing happens overnight, but I feel like coverage is growing in so many ways. So that's interesting, kind of the dichotomy there of what you hear and what you think, and then, what you see. And so I'm curious to see if more big markets start to embrace it the way Dallas radio has. But
yeah, they were at SEC Media Days. That's what. Oh, okay. All right. Not sure what happened there. When we come back, Andrew Monaco, voice of Texas A&M Athletics, and he's next. They were on the clock yesterday. Mike Elko and company, your thoughts about the Aggies and his two. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. They have a bunch of pre-owned cars, and they're all really, really good, including 1999 Jeep Wrangler that's built to thrill with only 85,000 miles. Now you go, wait a minute, that's a lot of miles, but they have all sorts of incentives because it's just $15,000. Classic Jeep that I'll tell you right now, it's rugged. It also has that luxury feel to it. Alan Samuels has that on the lot right now. Also, the blowout sale continues. and right now get massive savings, including what you can when it comes to, well, more than just the Jeep, but also SUVs, trucks, to crossovers and more. Alan Samuels, GM and CEO, is Ted Teague. I bought my car there in 2020. It was a pre-owned 2017 Ford Explorer. Driving it today, and it has been a great deal. One little flare-up when it came to the engine, but it wasn't because of me. It was because of what happened with the dealership when it came to Ford. So that's great news. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help us finally hear semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Andrew Monaco, voice of the Texas A&M Aggies, joins us on 365 Sports with 365 Sports, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. I watched some of the coverage, of course. We've had others on the air this week, Andrew, on the SEC Media Days. It appears to me that there hasn't been a lot of talk about A&M, and maybe that's a good thing, but there was confidence when I saw some of the comments made about how this team may have learned a lesson or a little bit from last year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. And they put themselves in a position last year, and when push came to shove, they didn't come through. And you know what? You hope it hurts, right? It's supposed to sting. Now, what are you going to do about it? And for Mike Elko and this crew, and the one thing that Mike has done really well, I'm even going to go back to when he was defensive coordinator here, but his 2 years at Duke, is player retention. And I love the players who are coming back for Mike in this season. And this is where NIL can be a boon for schools. If you are a mid to late round NFL pick, you can come back to school for one more year, bet on yourself, and if possible, improve your draft stock. But to have the entire offensive line coming back, to have all of his running backs back and healthy is huge. to have both linebackers, including his captain, Torian York, back. And then you have to upgrade the positions that need to be upgraded. And Mike has talked about this in the past, that you have to have SEC caliber talent. They think they have that now on the ends, a wide receiver. They think they have that now on the back end. They think they have that on the defensive line, because you can't just sit still in the SEC. If you're not improving, you're falling backwards. This is a team that got a taste of how do you get there. Now what they have to do next is win those crucial games in November, do them on the road, home and road in November, so you can be part of that college football playoff.
What do you expect growth-wise from Marcel Reed, especially given that they not only concentrated on keeping the offensive lineman to help him out, but getting him weapons like Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver to come in?
Yeah, and he was very instrumental in bringing those two wide receivers to Texas A&M. He was part of that recruiting process, and that has been an upgrade. No shot at the other wide receivers, but you could see that skill position has got to be at the SEC level. For Marcel Reed, this is what Mike Elko has said. He now knows what it takes to be an SEC quarterback. And when you're QB1, there are a lot of responsibilities to that. In the huddle, out of the huddle, on that field, every day at practice. This is a young man who they will listen to. You talk to his teammates, and he has that huddle. He deserves to be QB1. And in now his third year at Texas A&M, this is a young man who has constantly his strides from, okay, he's just going to be the number 4 quarterback as his freshman season, who was an injury on the first play to Jalen Henderson. Now in the Texas Bowl, he's the guy in that. And he played every snap there. And everybody was like, okay, so Jalen's going to be the number 2 last year. When Connor Wigman got hurt, Marcel was the one who was the number 2, who became the number 1. Never stops learning, never stops getting better, and looks at himself and says, okay, what can I do better? Okay, can I throw the deep ball? You saw that against LSU in that win when he hit Noah Thomas. That's the type of thing about him is I think he's really good at critiquing himself, not to the point of negativity. How can I get better? But I do know you talk to his teammates and they rally around him, and you've got to have that room. You've got to have that huddle. There's a certain makeup to being QB1, and I think that young man certainly has it.
So, Andrew, we followed Torian York all the way going back to high school. He was a representative there at Media Days, and his story as far as just coming in as a true freshman and becoming a leader right away and playing and all of that is pretty well documented. But how has he kind of sustained that, and what do you expect from Torian York now with a year under his belt?
I am a huge fan of him to have a true freshman call signals on defense when he was a freshman last year. Now, you understand that Mike Elko wanted him at Duke, didn't get him. Mike's thrilled that Torian turned him down at Duke, and now he gets him at Texas A&M. This is a young man who understood what was better for A&M last year. Look, Torian didn't like not playing on third down, but that made the team better. But then by the end of the year, Torian York was one of those linebackers. He was playing on third down. Can he stop the run? Can he defend the pass? He can do it all. The same thing I said about Marcel Reed, I'm going to say about Torian. How can I get better? He's never content with how he is. I think there's a little bit of that chip on his shoulder, but not in a negative way, if you know what I mean. Like, how do I make myself better? From the body to that leadership to making the right, and he's making the right calls. You guys know you can put that helmet on, you've got that headset. Sometimes that guy doesn't make all the right calls or everybody's confused. He's in absolute control. He is definitely that captain on defense, captain of this team. When Torian York speaks, believe me, the rest of this team listens.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You know, they've had other guys that are really, really good and also were leaders, et cetera. But he seems to be the real deal, because you could also have players who get a lot of hype and they become somewhat knuckleheads. And he just seems to kind of gets it.
He absolutely gets it, and he's on such the same page as Mike Elko, who was going to have a little bit more of a hand on the defense, but it's also with Jay Bateman as well, the DC here at Texas A&M. But that's the thing, and, you know, we talk about that leadership on and off the field. The thing that makes me chuckle about Torian, because sometimes we forget, like, it's more than just laundry that we're rooting for. And we get to see the young men who are playing. Well, when Torian had an opportunity to meet Reveille, he was like a little kid who couldn't wait. Now they're best friends. And, you can't have anybody more of a best friend and to be Rev's, favorite player. But he has done that. He's embraced Texas A&M. He's embraced this team. And look, it's not like it's constant chatter, but just I think that leadership permeates throughout, not just the linebackers and that crew or the defense. I think what makes him special is I think that reaches across to the other practice fields and this entire team. It is well-deserved. It has been well-deserved almost, guys, from the time that he stepped on campus.
Andrew, the schedule is tough. It's really, really tough. Do you think that having gone through this essentially same schedule last year will be better for them this time around, even though they did navigate it really well for what people expected a year ago, but that veteran improvement, that they'll remember some of those things, that it won't be maybe so difficult to coach it up against some of the better teams, the Notre Dames and the Texases of the world?
Yeah, and everything flips. So it's an identical schedule, except who you played at home is now on the road. This is a team that's no longer playing Arkansas and Arlington. They're going to have to go to Fayetteville. That's one that they're going to have to do. They will be at Texas at the end of the year, and everybody wants to talk about that Friday night. Mike's always going to joke and say, hey, we've got these other games that we have to do. But we as fans, we always circle those types of games. Notre Dame being week 3 might be a little bit different for this. Instead of week 1 at Kyle Field, it's week 3. It's going to be in South Bend. It's also an odd schedule in that it's very home heavy and then very road heavy. And I think I like experienced teams. I like that a lot, not just the player retention, but it's juniors and seniors. And I think in this NIL transfer world, I like teams that or position groups that have been together, that I don't think you're starting from square one any longer. I think you get to start a little bit farther down the line for this team. I think that will matter. Like I was thinking last year, and I know it's a completely different sport, but the Auburn basketball team average age was older than NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I know Auburn didn't win the title, but they were number one for a lot of the year. I think that experience matters in 2025 in college athletics, and I certainly hope that it pays off for Texas A&M. To your point, what did we go through? Like, you have memories of what we did well. You have memories of where we came up short. Can they turn those things? Can they keep doing what they did well? Can they turn those things around so they can take full advantage of being in that same position? They're going to be a little bit of an underdog first, and I get that. But at some point, this team's going to have to learn you have to play well. If that number is going to continue to shrink by your school name and you lose that underdog, you're going to have to start taking everybody's best shot. That's going to be another one of those next steps, I think, for Texas A&M.
Andrew, a bit off topic, but you're a well-versed and vastly experienced broadcaster outside of just college football during your career. But I was curious of just your experience last year for that Texas A&M game, even though it wasn't the result the Aggies wanted, but just knowing the history about that moment kind of coming together. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was the Kyle Field was electric. I can tell you that. It's special. Look, as you guys know this is why we get in the business, is for moments like that. And when that game night is no longer exciting to me, I'm getting out because we are fortunate to be in that building. You feel it swaying. 110,000 for the most part there at Kyle Field. It was special. And that renewal of the rivalry, again, for 13, and this is my little shot, right? It took Texas 13 years to follow Texas A&M into the SEC, right? So, but look, they took a lot of heat. They took a lot of heat from a lot of teams and a lot of schools in the Big 12. It was what was right for Texas A&M. And that's the way that I can put it. It was right for A&M. It was right for Texas and for Oklahoma at that time. And those are the only schools that can answer to themselves. Is it the right move? For that to go through it for me for college basketball, to do it for college baseball, to add some other storylines into that. I think it's outstanding. I really do. And I give the SEC a lot of credit as they protect, I think, some of the built-in rivalries. And I like that. I like that Auburn and Florida keep playing even when they were on separate divisions. Like, that is a built-in rivalry. Yes, it's new to the conference, but you're not ignoring, I think, the history. And that's the other thing. When you can add now more years, more games to the history between the two schools, it makes it pretty special. It's not just a Texas rivalry, right? It really is one of those rivalries that you know nationally.
Yeah, no, it is. It's no question about it among, I don't know if it's in the top 5 or top 8 or whatever it is. So how often with the SEC, and they have this massive media network, and of course ESPN, and we know the history, although the Big Ten's won the last 2 national titles. How often do you even think about other conferences during the football season?
When you're knee deep in the conference, it gets hard. But like I love early games so I can watch, as I call it, the carnage the rest of a Saturday afternoon. Like, I love that. Bye week. Like, I'm sitting there and then you kind of get to catch up with all of this. What I don't like, and I don't mean to call him out, but Joel Klatt will always take his shot at the SEC, especially in November, right? When he's talking about, there's usually the second or third Saturday in November, and he always talks about how the SEC schools aren't playing. They go out of conference for a game, not realizing that's the same thing the Big Ten is doing at the end of September while the SEC has already started conference play. Like, I don't think we need to cut each other down. We know how good each conference is. I'm talking all of the conferences. Some can be top heavy, some can be not, but you just get so caught up, I do, in the conference and see how everything's playing out. Like, how could you not take a closer look at Vanderbilt last year? Take a closer look at South Carolina last year. What's happening at Ole Miss, Texas and Oklahoma, part of the storyline. Okay, what's it going to be as they move into the SEC? But I'd be lying if I didn't see that. Well, you know what, Florida State, that was a heck of a roller coaster for that team to go undefeated, and then you think you're at the top of the mountain, then you're not in the college football playoff. To have everybody leave practically from that program, nosedive. I don't know if it's rock bottom. It could come back up, but you see everything being in play. And I think by having some of the marquee non-conference matchups, Notre Dame in the past, Notre Dame again this year, Clemson in the past, I think has to keep you. And obviously with the Big Ten absorbing most of those Pac-10 schools, it was interesting to see. Did I say Pac-10? It's Pac-12.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't say Pac-8 to really show my age. But how was that going to be? SMU moving to the ACC, like all these dynamics that are happening in college athletics, all that's happening in courtrooms as well. I think you have to keep an eye on some of it, but for the most part, I'll tell you honestly, I'm focused a lot more on the SEC.
What do you think is the difference between Mike Elko and some of the previous? Like I've maybe I asked you this last year, but he is devoid of flash. As where Jimbo Fisher comes in with a national title under his belt, and it's about A&M making a flashy move. Kevin Sumlin was Mr. Swag Copter, but R.C. Slocum's the most successful coach they've ever had. And again, not a guy that's flashy. I've known him for a long time. He's not flashy. Mike Elko kind of fits that. Is that really who A&M needs to be? And is especially maybe, I don't want to say hiding in the SEC, but with all the flash around them, just kind of going forward and not calling attention to themselves until they start winning?
I think you've hit it. And, if you want to, and I think it would be a huge compliment to Mike Elko, because I think he is very similar to R.C. Slocum. And if you talk to any player who has ever played for R.C. Slocum, there is quite the connection. I think it comes to the standard cannot change. It was talked about, but I thought it got relaxed. Mike came in, and I think what's going to be different in year 2, and if you've ever seen Mike Elko teams, whether he's been a position coach, a coordinator, a head coach, year 2 is better than year 1. Not that it's been bad in year 1. Like what he did year 1 at Duke was something. He doesn't just say, well, you know what? It's going to be hard here at Duke. So, okay, it's just going to be okay. No, there's an excellence that he strives for. Take all the excuses away. He understands Texas A&M. Not talking Texas A&M football. He understands Texas A&M. R.C. Slocum to me is Mr. Aggie, right? And everything that he exemplifies the core values as well. I think Mike is very much there. His players will play for him. Mike is honest without being personal. I think that's a huge difference. I'm not saying the other coaches weren't like that, but that's why they are so loyal. And for the 4 years as the defensive coordinator, if you talk to his players, everything from he's a mad scientist to a genius, once they got it, and you can see it's no longer top down from Mike, then they could talk on his level. That's where I think that understanding comes. He demands an awful lot of these players, but that accountability is there, that I don't care who you are. If you're a minute late, that door's locked. You're not coming in. You're going to be punished for that. I think that standard is the standard under Mike. You hear culture an awful lot. Coaches start that, but players continue culture at schools. You can say it all you want. You can plaster it on your wall. If the players believe it and the players live it, then the culture has changed. It changed this past year under Mike Elko. Same thing. He gets to move forward from there. Here are your expectations. Live up to them, or the portal goes both ways.
Yeah, the player-led teams, there's a huge deal there. That's part of the culture, et cetera. Sometimes you don't. They're like the guys who are just running around doing whatever they want. So you've done a lot of games. Last thing from me, Andrew. Thanks for your time today.
Sure.
Voice of Texas A&M Athletics. So you've done games with all these cathedrals in the SEC, Kyle Field all the time. You have Notre Dame. You get to go to Notre Dame Stadium and obviously to DK Royal Memorial Stadium at the end of the year. Those are two big behemoths and historic places. Where has been the most historic stadium outside the conference? Will it be the Notre Dame game?
Ooh, yeah, and I'm excited for both of those. And look, I'm a stadium geek. I'm an arena geek. I'm a uniform geek. Like I love all of those things. See, I think those places that you're talking about, and you guys were talking about the program of Ohio State before, but the Horseshoe, Michigan, Penn State, Clemson, we got to go to. I think Kyle Field is a bucket list type place. I don't think it's the only place I think it's a place, if you're a college football fan, go see it. I want to go to the Rose Bowl. And to be able to go to South Bend, I kind of want to go early so I can just walk around on Friday. And then I'm glad it's a night game because I want to walk around. I want the atmosphere on a Saturday. I love all of those places. I love watching Auburn and watching War Eagle. Like, I love the tradition of all of that. And I also love what Texas A&M has. So I get 7 Saturdays there. And that's awesome. But I'm not one of these people like, oh, nothing else can compare. No, I Death Valley on a Saturday night is pretty special. I hate getting spanked in there like we did when they ran over everybody in the national championship year. But you stop and you look around and you go, oh my gosh, this is something special. And I don't take it for granted. I know he's not here any longer, but I've stolen a line from Buzz Williams. I take it for gratitude that I get to be in these stadiums, in these positions at these games. And those are two that I'm very much looking forward to this season.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of what summer you have left, and then also the broadcast. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Andrew Monaco from Texas A&M, voice of the Fighting Aggies, Texas A&M Aggies. We appreciate his time today. A&M, it has been quiet. I wonder what is the ceiling of Marcel Reed. I like what I saw. I love the team rallied around him, but you wonder what is his next level and can he get there? And if he can, with all the other things that Andrew brought up, then maybe they have a shot to be more than just good.
Yeah, I think that if he takes the step and he doesn't have to turn into Patrick Mahomes overnight, but they've got to
or ever.
But I mean, like that, I think that's sometimes what people expect is like, all right, you had 1 year in, next year, Heisman Trophy, or you're a failure. No, I think that if he can just increase because they've got They've got 3 really good running backs that they can rotate through. Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels, that all did well for them last year. They have the whole offensive line back. They've got playmakers at wide receiver. If he can get the ball to those playmakers at wide receiver, then, they should be better than they were last year. But it is Texas A&M, and every Texas A&M fan lives in a perpetual state of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yep. To meet expectations or pass them, they've done that, but it seems like every time there's heavy expectations, they choke on it or just hyperventilate.
That's fair, but I also think there's this weird thing. It's like with TCU and getting beat by Georgia, people just act like the Michigan game never happened, and they don't take that into account when talking about TCU. And it's fine. I get that Georgia game was such a blowout that it kind of skews things. But people talk about A&M like they're not even in the mix, really, like that they just fall completely short. It's like, no, they were playing in the final game of the year to play in the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that when you talk about them. It's like it's mentioned eventually, but you hear from the outside just talking, you're like, oh, well, they're not even in the mix. They're like a step below being in the mix. It's like, no, they were a couple plays from being in the title game last year, not Texas. And that obviously creates a much different narrative. So yeah, they fell short, as they are wont to do more often than not. I think that Aggie fans will acknowledge that's kind of part of the ups and downs of that fanhood. But they're not so far off as to not even be interesting. Mm-hmm. And that's a life I would not want to live at all, is to not even be in the mix whatsoever. So I think they're a team, like I said at the top of the show when we saw that SEC poll, that I actually saw, because it's easy to crack on A&M. Everybody cracks on A&M. And so I saw somebody immediately go, they didn't even get a first place vote. That's how A&M of them. And I didn't really understand that, but I understood, I guess, the sentiment of them not even getting a first place vote when they were a couple plays from playing it last year and pretty much return a majority of those players, including a young quarterback who should be better. So that's why I think you see them in the middle of that poll, and they're a strong candidate to be somebody that ends up at the top of that poll when the end of the season arrives. So yeah, they're one to keep an eye on, and they have their moments where they slip and fall, certainly, but they are not just some clown show either, especially with Jimbo gone. I think Mike Elko in year 2 is really interesting because I think they have a lot of talent, and they weren't that far away a year ago, even though things obviously change more year to year now than they ever have before. There's not a transitive property, but there's a lot from last year that you have back that you like. Of
their 5 losses, 2 were the teams that were in the college football playoff. 1, South Carolina, that was getting a lot of attention about being in it. And then, of course, the crazy game against Auburn and the bowl loss to USC.
Well, that's the thing that they don't, that gets them. If they go through this year and lose to, let's just say they go 9-3 and those losses are at Notre Dame, at LSU, and at Texas. All right, you know what? That happens. You probably get in the playoff if that's your 3 losses, maybe. If the situation,
you'll be in the conversation.
You'll be in the conversation, but yeah, you're gonna be in the conversation. But the thing is you can't go to an Auburn team with a losing record and lose. USC doesn't have a quarterback. You can't lose to them in the bowl game. But you've got to win those games. Those are the things that they do that are maddening, because once they stop losing those games and then they can focus on winning the ones that maybe people don't think they're going to win, then that's when they'll take the next step.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Don't blank on yourself. If you have a quality win, don't turn around and lose a game that you just shouldn't be involved in losing, although we never know anymore from weekend to weekend. But if you're going to be a part of the high level, then be a part of the high level and act like you are.
Yeah, don't lose 4 out of your last 5 games.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing, is they were very, very strong position and just completely melted down the stretch for multitude of reasons. But yeah.
Yeah, the game in Auburn, 4 overtimes, and then I thought they just hyperventilated against Texas from the start. It was like the game was not, I'm not saying too big for them. That's stupid. But it just seemed like that the moment was. I remember the goal line stand. And UT, man, they just found a way to win a lot last year. They were really good.
They kept it close, but you never felt like they were going to break through.
No, and except for a fluky play.
Yeah, numbers-wise, like score-wise, it was close. Like at any moment in a normal game, you can look at it and say, oh, the score's not that far away, but watching the game, it was not close.
There was never, ever one time that I felt like that Texas was not going to win the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what happened, 17-7. When we come back, we're going to look at Mississippi State, we continue to go through the schedules. Mississippi State is next with Jeff Lebby, who moved from Oklahoma as the offensive coordinator to be a part of their schedule. Here's Garrett. What have we not used? Not all the other stuff we have. What have we not used that you think we should use before we close out the week?
I think we've used pretty much everything that's important.
How about the one with Missouri's schedule? Since we're getting ready to go into a schedule, let's do that as we go to the break. So Brett McMurphy had this as far as Missouri and the schedule. You talk about the algorithm, how it might just kill you. In some schools, Florida, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and others, you're like, man, they're on the wrong side of that schedule. They have 8 home games. They have 4 road games, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and OU. But they avoid Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. Drinkwitz, I appreciate Mark Womack, who's with the SEC, helping us with those first 6 games being at home.
Yeah, I mean, you better take advantage of it or you have no shot of being in the conversation at the end of the year. I mean, as far as when we start comparing strength of schedules, which I know is an inexact science, but yeah, that should bode well for them, although they are replacing some pretty impactful people. But the schedule is very light based on, what we all think is kind of what right now. But you have very little room for error, though, with a schedule like that, because then you lose a couple games. Like, you don't have an argument. You didn't play most of the good teams. And so, yeah, you have little room for error, but you do have great opportunity to, stack up a lot of wins. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But, yeah, interesting to see the easiest because we've heard a lot about the toughest, which is an Oklahoma or even a Texas or whoever else has been mentioned throughout the year. But I didn't know that Mizzou's was quite that light, but we'll get to them, I guess, next week.
Well, which means next year they might be playing every dog, heavy alpha dog on their schedule. You never know, again, with the algorithm. So, hey, by the way, before we take the break and have Mississippi State, we did our golf picks on Wednesday with Rob Bolton. Everybody who was selected, Paul, Rob, and my team, all of us, everybody made the cut. Paul right now is dominating through combined 2 rounds at 17 under. Rob is 13 under. I am 3 under. Bryson DeChambeau went from shooting 78 to 65. But an update real quick, and then we break. Scheffler, 10 under. What a round of 64. Matt Fitzpatrick, 9 under. Brian Harmon, who's won the Open before, he's at 8 under par. And also Lee, who's also in the running from China, 8 under par. There's a lot of big names. Hatton, McIntyre, Finau, all of them are near the top. Even Rory McIlroy hanging close after having a little bit of a rugged in-between middle of his round on Thursday.
So all it took was you guys losing 2 people so that you could have only 3 to choose from the entire field. Now everybody's able to make the cut.
I can't argue with you. Yeah, you have 4 less picks. 4 less picks, and so you should. That would be. I thought if DeChambeau doesn't make the cut, I'm done. And he fought back with a 78 to a 65 today. This is 365 Sports and IdealMRI.com. Wet Blanket cracked me up. I guess a couple of days ago, I was discussing Ideal MRI, $497 or less every single time. An MRI average is $1,100. Maybe much more than that. In fact, I have spent more money when I thought insurance was going to take care of an MRI. With a hospital system, it cost me $1,600. Ouch. But $497 every single time and maybe less at Ideal MRI. And I also mentioned the state-of-the-art imaging machine, and I've been in that thing 4 times. And the techs and the specialists have always made every single trip there fantastic and very smooth. Very comfortable because I can get a little spooked when it comes to the cluster. Has never come into play with them the way that they handle me. And oh, by the way, there's no long wait. You're not going to sit in a room with 18 or 20 other people waiting for your name to be called to go up to the 2nd or 3rd or 5th floor. It's never a long wait. I don't think I've ever waited more than 10 or 15 minutes. And Wet Blanket in the chat room goes, I'm driving to Waco for my next MRI stat. Appreciate you doing that our good Oklahoma State fan. Great people. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners have put together a fantastic business for you, the patient, and also for your orthopedic or whatever family doctor needs the MRI at idealmri.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Car Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Welcome back. 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Craig Smoak. And as we tumble through our schedules, we are now arrived at the Mississippi State Bulldogs from Stark Vegas, Mississippi. Craig Smoak, take it away.
Yeah, here we are. This has been a long journey, and we're getting close to the end, right? I mean, we've got how many schools? A handful of schools left. So we've gone through all the major conferences. The SEC was last, and so we're over halfway through with them, and here we are in Starkville, as Paul mentioned, or Stark Vegas, as it's sometimes known. And I got to tell you, didn't have a lot of high hopes for Mississippi State heading into this year. Clearly, based on the SEC media poll, they don't either. And when we got Phil Bennett's lack of an answer about his good friend Jeff Lebby and what he expects, I was like, yep, don't think that much is coming out of there this year. But who knows? Blake Shapen, starting quarterback, guys.
I don't think that's going to last very long, just because he's been so fragile before. I mean, good luck to him. Love Blake, but I do think that's going to be tough. I think it's going to be Luke Kromenhoek, who transferred in from FSU eventually.
Yeah, well, they did have the young star potential in Michael Van Buren, but obviously he transferred to LSU. So it's Blake Shapen and then Kromenhoek. We'll see, though. Shapen was with them at media days. And, it's kind of weird. It's one of those, like, he's still playing kind of guys. So, anyways, last year, Jeff Lebby's first season, 2-10. Not a lot of optimism that they're going to grow that number by too much. But let's take a look at their schedule, because that's what we're here to do. And see what they are going to be navigating throughout 2025. And it all starts on Saturday, August the 30th at Southern Miss. So staying in state, but a little bit of travel there to take on Southern Miss right out of the gates. Then week 2, Saturday, September the 6th, Arizona State at home. So that was an interesting game last year because we had no idea what to expect from Arizona State. And if anything, probably thought Mississippi State was the better team perhaps just because I don't know, based on Levy and just maybe SEC or whatever and just not knowing what to expect from Arizona State. But Arizona State did win that game. So here they are going back to play in Starkville. So big test for the Bulldogs there in week 2 against the Big 12 champs. Then in week 3, Saturday, September 13th, Alcorn State. And then on Saturday, September the 20th, Northern Illinois. Both of those games will be SEC Network games. And then to close out the month of September, as they will have the late August game and then 4 games in the month of September, it'll be the Tennessee Vols at home. So after starting the season on the road against Southern Miss, they will play the next 4 weeks at home against ASU, Alcorn State, Northern Illinois, and Tennessee. And then I'll go one more deep because then we'll finally get to their first bye week. On October the 4th, they open up the month in College Station against Texas A&M. So in their first 6 weeks, a couple of road games before they get to their first bye. That'll be their kind of bookends of that first frame of the 3 frames since this is a dual bye week season in college football. But yeah, Tennessee, A&M, Arizona State, all a part of those first 6.
Yeah, that's tough.
How many teams play 6 games without a bye? How many of all
not
teams
many that we've seen.
I haven't kept track of that kind of deal, but it's not very often. Yeah.
You were going to say something else?
No, I mean, like not many that we've seen. I mean, when you throw in,
that's half your schedule.
Yeah,
so I mean, half your schedule before you take a break.
But yeah, that ASU, Tennessee, A&M before you get a week off, tough. Very tough.
Yep. So I mean, I could see though where they could beat Southern Miss, they could beat Alcorn State, they could. I mean, Northern Illinois has caused people plenty of problems in the past. I'm not going to give that to them, but I mean, there's opportunity for a couple wins there early on, and that's basically their win total. So there's not a lot of hope that they're going to go do much damage in the SEC. But I already mentioned playing Tennessee and A&M to start that part of the slate. And what's very interesting about them is they don't have what I dubbed yesterday the SEC special. They play all their non-cons at the beginning of the year.
Oh, my, you're right. Yeah.
So they don't have Alcorn State on November 15th like a lot of other schools do. So it's all SEC games from here on out for Mississippi State. 4 non-cons and then all league games. So getting back to it after their first bye week, they will go and have had 2 weeks to prepare for a trip to the Swamp against Billy Napier, DJ Lagway, and the Gators. Then on October the 25th, they are at home and playing host to the Texas Longhorns. Then November the 1st at Arkansas. November the 8th, home against Georgia. And then November the 15th at Missouri. And then they will have their second bye week, which will be with just 1 game remaining, the big Egg Bowl game there. But yeah, man, so the way they're set up, they play 6 games, break 5 games, break 1 game, which is, I'm not sure we've seen that arrangement. We definitely see teams have 2 weeks to prepare for their rival, and even in some cases, I think towards the end of the year. But this does seem unique to them, and man alive, they don't miss out on much in the league this year, which I'll get to in a second. So yeah, there you go. That third and final part that I talked about: at Florida, Texas at home, at Arkansas, Georgia at home, at Missouri, Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, the Egg Bowl at the end. That they've got some dudes. Arizona State, like you brought that up earlier, right? This is a tough schedule. It's surely not Missouri's schedule.
Yeah. No, it's not. And for a team that's trying to get their head above water just to get to 6 wins. I mean, what they're not going to be favored in any of their SEC games. None of the 8 they'll be favored in. They're not going to be favored in the ASU game, like you said, Craig. So you've got 3 games that you should win. You'll be favored in right off the bat, and then you're probably not going to be favored in for the rest of the year. The only one you have a chance to, and that's if you get an upset along the way, would be Arkansas. And I think Arkansas is a step ahead, if not 2, of where Mississippi State is right now.
Yep. So guess what their win total is? 3.5. So there you go. You got 3 games that you suspect they win. And it's like, do they beat Northern Illinois or do they win a SEC game? I don't know, and neither does Vegas. So yeah, I mean that's a tough schedule. It's kind of weird the way it's all separated there, but they will have a couple of weeks to get ready for the Rebs there at the very end. And man, I think just Jeff Levy's got his work cut out for him here. So that's what Mississippi State is looking at as far as who they don't face on this schedule. They will not see Alabama. They will not see Auburn. They will not see Kentucky. They will not see LSU. They won't see Oklahoma, nor South Carolina, or Vanderbilt. So you can't play all of the quote-unquote names when there's so many of them in one league and only so many games. But, yeah, they do miss out on an LSU and a Bama. And we'll see, where Oklahoma and Auburn and teams like that are. South Carolina's obviously, even Vandy, though. So it's like, yes, I think it's just a sign of the depth, but they get plenty that's going to keep them up at night, I think, in the coaches' offices. So there you go. There is Mississippi State as we churn through another schedule ahead of games here in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, the Egg Bowl. The Clarion Ledger, a writer at the Clarion Ledger named it the Egg Bowl. They had some – back in the early parts of the series, they had like a big brawl or something like that between the two. Not even the teams. We're talking about between fans.
Did they ever play that one at a neutral site like Alabama and Auburn did? I wonder.
Yeah, Alabama used to play, was it at Legion Field in Birmingham?
Yeah, they play in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would play that game at the end of the year. I don't know, but yeah, they've had brawls and all those things in that game. I mean, and it got really salty, for a couple years there. I think when Matt Luke was the coach, like they had a really salty one there at the end. So
they played in Jackson, Mississippi a ton.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's
maybe that's
what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
A lot back. In fact, like throughout the entire decade of the 70s and 80s, almost all the time. Maybe a couple other places early on, but a ton in Jackson, Mississippi. But now it's home and it's away. Craig, anything else? That's it. Mississippi State, Jeff Levy. And
so you going over 3.5 wins or under?
I'll say under.
I'm going to say that they win 4.
But they'll find. Yeah, they find one.
Well, I think I go over, but man, I would not put my own money on it.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. Here's one of the things that
I think they win like their 4 non-con. Is kind of where I'm coming from.
Arizona State.
Oh no, not in Arizona. Yeah, you're right. So no.
Well, that is a home game. Yeah, I mean,
no, I still don't think they're gonna win that. Shoot,
they're going to need somebody to have, and I don't want this to happen, but they're going to need somebody to either overlook them and or they suffer something that may be an injury at quarterback that affects the game. But even then, that's
something, I mean, there might be an injury like
Taylon Green. I hope it doesn't.
But what's going to be funny is, so for the folks who dabble in such things and you go over, and then I could totally picture a scenario where they're 3-1, and then you're just sitting there white knuckling the next 8 games, hoping for just a win in 8 tries, and just week after week hoping for that win, and I could see where it doesn't happen. So yeah, good luck on betting the over there. But hey, good luck to the Rebs. Nothing against them, just think they got their work cut out for them.
How did the Egg Bowl get its name?
Or Bulldogs, I should say. I don't know. I did not mean to say that. Not the Rebs. Good luck to the Bulldogs.
God.
Yeah,
it's like me when I screwed up UCF and the Knights. Don't do that. The Egg Bowl get its innocuous name. As often the case in college football, the trophy came first. The Golden Egg arose in 1927 after an actual battle on the field after the 1926 game horrified officials of both schools. The Golden Egg was meant to placate future violence. The trophy meant to represent the best team in Mississippi. There we go. It was just dubbed that by the Clarion Ledger. All right, Paul Catalina and his top 5. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people that you can count on for all of your automotive needs. Got big savings going on now over at Richard Carr. I believe the summer savings event is still going on that you can take advantage of right now, as they were celebrating America here the past couple of months, as we all were, of course, right? But right now you can save on 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 SLE and SLT models in stock. Qualified buyers can save nearly $9,000 on the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 SLE and SLT. If you're driving a electric vehicle and you want to stay in an electric, but you want something a little bit jazzier, well, you can flip the switch and test drive the new Cadillac Lyriq. All-wheel drive Lyriq offers 500 horsepower, will go 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds with a single charge distance of over 300 miles. So if that's up your alley, there's an option for you as well. A couple of the newer offerings, but certainly a lot more you could check out on the lot. And you can also check out all their pre-owned vehicles, dozens of cars on the lot, and price to move for your upcoming summer travel. Also, having undergone a 172-point inspection, and as always, 100% credit approval is their goal. So check them out today, locally owned, locally run, and celebrating 26 years of business in Central Texas. Do business in Waco with a dealership you can count on. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome back to 365 Sports. It's Paul Catalina's Top 5. I am the aforementioned Paul Catalina. Who else would do the Top 5? In case you're confused, if you're new here. If you're not, welcome back. But again, I have an ongoing feud with Carl. Don't ask me who Carl is. He knows what he did. And we'll get to the bottom of it. But Carl, I'm watching you. Let's talk Big Ten predictions today. Also, I want everybody but Carl to go to flagandanthem.com and use our promo code 365sports. Get yourself some fancy giddy-ups that you can wear out and about. Let's talk Big Ten predictions as we wrap up the week. Number 5, Ohio State takes 3 losses. 2 new coordinators that are downgrades from what they had before. Well, one that's a downgrade, one that's young and on his way up. I think the offense will probably be fine with Brian Hartline, maybe not as efficient with a first-year starter at quarterback and a coordinator who's not really a play caller or hasn't been to this point in his career. Chip Kelly was a big loss. He's off to the Raiders. The bigger concern is that defense. When you go from Jim Knowles to Matt Patricia, that is a drop-off. It's a huge drop-off and was a huge problem early in Ryan Day's tenure at Ohio State. They have a very tough schedule that starts out with the Texas Longhorns, and I'm not sure Matt Patricia's the guy you want calling that defense. He hasn't been in college football in a very long time, and really his only experience in college football was as a GA a long time ago. He's been in the NFL. He does know things, but He's not famous for his organizational skills, and his career kind of dipped when he's not working with Bill Belichick. And guess what he won't be doing at Ohio State? He will not be working with Bill Belichick. I think that means 3 losses for the Buckeyes, who will be really good otherwise. Julian Sayin, I think, is going to be a revelation at quarterback. They still have Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, but they lost a lot of guys off the national championship team, and those coordinator changes will have an effect on them, at least in year 1 of them doing this. Number 4, the Huskers go at least 8-4. You heard me say it, Smokey. They're going to go at least 8-4, and here's why. Raiola, year 2 as a starter. He's a legit superstar in the making if they do it right, and I think they're doing it right. They went out and got Dane Key from Kentucky, including some other playmakers, to add that element to the offense that did not exist last year. Dane Key will be the Big Ten newcomer of the year, or I'm a monkey's uncle. I tell you that right now, that was the most dad joke thing I've ever said, and I don't have any kids. But my adopted son, Emery, who I miss. Love you, buddy. But the Huskers go at least 8-4. I think their defense will be really solid as it's been under the Matt Rule tenure. I think Dana Holgorsen adds a level to that offense, and Dane Key is a real contender for Big Ten newcomer of the year. Number 3, Wisconsin will continue to struggle. They do not have their quarterback yet. And the best one they've had is Tanner Mordecai from right here in Waco, who played at Midway, but he was injured a lot of that season. They have not really got the rhythm when it comes to that. Phil Longo, their offensive coordinator from last year, gone on his way to Sam Houston State, where he's the head coach. Jeff Grimes, former Baylor and Kansas offensive coordinator, is now, and BYU, is on his way. Well, it's not on his way. He's there at Wisconsin now. I think that's a better fit for what Wisconsin wants to do, and I think he'll work well with Luke Fickell, but the quarterback position is still a problem there, and I think Wisconsin will continue to look very middle of the road, which is not very Wisconsin based on their history. Number 2, USC takes a step forward. I don't think they're in contention for the league, but the way they started to build the roster has been better than they have before. I think year 2 of a better focus on the defense means they're not going to give up a lot of points. Now they have to replace some playmakers, but I think they'll do that. And I actually do like that Lincoln Riley isn't just going out and pulling any transfer quarterback out there that he wants. He actually has to sit and develop Jordan Mayava, who was there last year and will now be the starter. It will allow him to get back to being the quarterback coach that he was, as opposed to, whatever this has been since Caleb Williams has left USC. I think they take a step forward. Don't think they win the league. I think that they're still behind teams like Oregon, probably behind Michigan, and probably behind number 1 on this list, Penn State, who finally wins a big game. They finally win a big game when it matters. I think James Franklin will knock down that wall. Now, do they win a big game in the playoffs? Do they win one in the regular season? I think it's probably going to be in the regular season, and we'll let the playoffs happen when the playoff happens. But they've brought back too many players, including their quarterback, to not win a big game. And Ohio State, Michigan, and teams like that in particular can be had because they have less experience than Penn State does right now. Penn State's veteran leadership and their senior quarterback should lead the way to them being in the Big Ten title game again and maybe even winning it. They can win a big game against a team they're not supposed to beat, that they're not favored against, or that they haven't beaten in a long time. They can do it because they have the experience. I can't believe I said it, but I did, and it's over, and so is the top 5, and so is our show for the week. We'll see you on Monday, and Smokey is going to dismiss the class. Nobody has detention but Carl.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And by the way, Andrew Valet, he'll be back next week, right? And
I'll be back.
Brandon Rowe out with his grandmother passing away. He'll be back, I believe, on Monday. From Grateful 365, what a great name in the chat room. Smokey playing 36-18 or not at all this weekend. I'm playing tomorrow morning. I was mentioning it to Garrett and Paul and Craig. I have a group. There's 22 of us to tee off first thing tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock and then every 8 or 12 minutes. And I just need to hit my irons a little bit better. Thank you for asking, Grateful 365.
36 or 18?
18. Now, Sunday, I will play early Sunday morning, and at times there's a group, some really good dudes at Ridgewood Country Club, where I'm not a member there. They'll ask me to come play maybe about every 4 or 5 weeks at 1 o'clock, and so I might end up playing 36 on Sunday. That'd be the case. Need to get as many rounds of golf as I can between now and the start of football season. Thank you, Grateful 365, for the super chat and also for the question. And have fun watching the British Open, getting up at 1 or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning doing that. That's always a lot of fun. Garrett Ross, kind of almost solo throughout the week without your Robin next to you and Andrew Valet. Again, thank you. Brandon Rowe will be working on 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 on the local CW. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your support. Before you say goodbye, or we do, hit or subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're watching this right now and you have not subscribed, please do that. We would appreciate that a great deal. For everybody, thank you. For Paul Catalina and for Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday at 3.